And so I'm just waiting to see that the computer catches up. There are already so many of you in the show, so I want to welcome you all. Let's start from the very beginning. Truth Fears, Curtis, James, Thomas Burnett, Maynard. There's so many of you here. Welcome to the show. Thank you all so much for joining. Looks like we're synced up. That's great. We're going to have a cool show. It's going to be a bit different to our usual format, but we're going to be looking at a huge selection of pieces. And yeah, we'll get into that in a second. Multi-pork pie, great to have you. Jimmy, Neville, Brummy, Megan, awesome to have you here. I hope your dad is doing well. I hope the news has been excellent and you've been enjoying your time together. Jenks, awesome. Let me know if you can hear me. That's the best way to start. Comment 1 in the chat. That's our usual call sign. And let's get into it. It's going to be a monstrous show. No idea how long it's going to be. Robert, welcome, and Shane from New Zealand. Please tell me you can hear me. Cool. Chip Gauge, thanks. Thank you, everyone. That's a good way to start. Sometimes I'm always thinking, am I just talking to myself here? It's fantastic. Okay, so we're going to start. 1 in the chat. Thanks, Shane. Right, so let's begin. How do we start this? Let's just start with the usual typical format of the Live 5. Let me just give you a brief preface of what the show is about. We're going to be looking at the Philips watch auction. I found it on social media, which was great, and I was able to jump on. And funnily, it hasn't been covered very much. So the thinking was to look at the 200 watches that they are showing. Some have sold already. We can talk about that in a second. Let's just get into the pieces first. As the shows usually begin, we always start with the Live 5. Thought not to break tradition this time and just keep it rolling. So these 5 watches that you're seeing, I can show that you can realize that they're all in the same family. So what I'm going to do is, as usual, drop all the watches in the chat for you to have a look at. Probably spelled a few things wrong, but I've literally just thrown this together in the last 5 minutes or so. So Matthew, welcome. True, Rajiv, Chris, Chip Gauge again. There's so many more of you. I'm going to try my best to keep up with the chat and everyone talking, but at the same time we have so many watches to look at, and it's going to be a busy show. So the watches that you're seeing at the moment, they're all Omega Speedmasters, and it's a cue for what's coming out next week. Quite an ambitious video, if I do say so myself. It's taken 3 days to just edit, and all I can say is all of these watches will be featured in the video. But we're going to just run through these basically. As you can see in the list, if you're in the live chat, you can see from left to right, we have a 57 reissue, first Omega in space, based on a CK2998. A Skywalker, another CK2998, a modern recreation, and the 50th anniversary all gold professional. So all of these watches are together, and funnily enough, we're going to be looking at the Philips auction. It's amazing that what we will be seeing is predominantly Rolex and Patek, and Omega doesn't really feature as much as you would think. I think I only counted about between 5 and maybe 8 pieces altogether. So yeah, for all of you here, it's fantastic. Thank you all for joining. And once again, it's going to be a bit of a different format, but the root of it's just the same. We can comment on the watches. The bonus is that we'll be able to see the sales prices and all of that, and just discuss where the market really is at the moment and how it looks. Okay, so on the left, 57 reissue. Of course, it has to be featured. I enjoy the 57 so much. And then next to it, we see the next real step, definitive step. And it's quite amazing seeing them side by side, because the case designs are relatively the same, but we really saw from left, we saw it turn from a racing chronograph into a actual space watch at this point. And it's incredible to see just how they attacked legibility, contrast, the monotone nature. Love those alpha hands. In this configuration, I actually much prefer the alpha hands instead of the broad arrow. That's just me. I think the broad arrow is a little bit peculiar for a chronograph when it comes to legibility and all of those details. But just everything. So these two watches together make such a nice pair. It'd be nice to see this bracelet, the original bracelet on the first Omega in space. And then next to it, what I liked about this development is we see pretty much the first development of the space watch, and then now on the right, the current version of the space watch. And it's called the Skywalker X33. And what makes this so unique is that it's used by astronauts today. It was developed with astronauts' input and their feedback. So they were able to make such a nice combination of things. It's not exactly the most mechanical piece you can find, but does have analog time. It's a mission timer, so you can use it to time for hours on end, basically 99 hours at a time. So it's really practical. When we're talking about a chronograph being used as something that you can, determine 12-hour time with, that's great. But then having 3 separate mission timers, as well as GMT complications inside it as well, very practical. I think when we just imagine you're a biologist in space, you're not working under any current time. You're kind of setting your own time. So having as you can see underneath here, this mission time running, I think that's the mission time, or that's just running, that's the time zone. The idea is that you can basically run an operation or any kind of performance and be able to categorize just what the time is. And then next to it, I've decided to feature the gorgeous panda dial of the pulsometer, I think they call it. And seeing these two side by side, the original space watch and the reinterpretation with a bit of a 60s flair to it, nice blend, nice combination of parts, really expressive. I really enjoy how this piece has been addressed. It's probably one of my favorites in the line because you really get to enjoy the panda aesthetic and the highlights and the colors and everything. And then next to it, I thought, let's go all gold. Also one of the nicest pieces in the Speedmaster line, I believe, because you're dealing with an all gold model that doesn't look very ostentatious, as well as it being just so fantastic when it comes to legibility. You can tell the time very easily. The black on gold combination is just a win with a burgundy bezel. Yeah, they're beautiful. It's such a nice selection of pieces. And I just thought, since next week's video is going to be a big one, it's like 22 minutes long, and it's all about Speedmasters. They're the ones that really inspired me this week. And Shane is asking, is the bezel red? Yeah, it's burgundy. So yeah, nice combination. So let's get rid of this and get into the show because I don't know how long it's going to be. What I've been wearing most of the week is this little Ministry. This video came up, I published it, I think, Wednesday this week. So if you haven't seen it, I will link it in the corner of the screen if you're watching this after the fact. And overall, it's just such a nice wearing watch. This was quite a few months back. No, it wasn't. I would say about a month ago, I was wearing this configuration. It was still quite cold. Yeah, superb watch on a Tessuflex bracelet. I talk about it at length in the video. Today, I've been busy restringing my Stratocaster, and I might have accidentally taken the best photo I ever have of my Seamaster, which I thought would be nice to share with everyone. This is not wrist shot week, so we are going to be looking at a series of other pieces, but I just can't believe how well this worked out. It's a two-tone Strat. I'd say it's got one tone of sunburst to it, all gold hardware. I've done a lot of modifications to it over time. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see some updates and photos that I share usually of what's going on, what I'm wearing. But what works so nicely here is the radium effect next to the two-tone finish on the body and the lighting. And yeah, it's amazing. iPhone camera is an incredible thing. I use the SE. It's not even a fancy iPhone. It's just the basic, run-of-the-mill, simple. Okay, so let's see if we can make this work, because I'm a bit skeptical. I've been trying over the last few days to work out how best we could run this show smoothly. And I think we might have something somewhere. If you can see this okay, that's a good start. Let me just refer back to the screen. That looks pretty clean and clear. I think we can do again. If you can comment 1 in the chat or something, that will help me. Let me know if it is clear enough for you to see okay. And this is going to be the format that we're going to stick with as we run through the pieces all together. Is that okay? Thank you, Matthew, for that. And for all of you in the chat, let me try and refer back to some of you guys. I've missed you. Brick Lane saying more Smiths, new 5-hour stream record, pilot style. I really don't know how long it's going to be. We've been running for 10 minutes at this point, and already that's taken way too long. And saying thoughts on the Ed White. It really is one of, I'd say, the ultra reissue, if that's even worth saying nowadays. Reissues are everywhere. But the Ed White is one of the best they've ever done. Not only is it faithful, like when it comes to presentation, but the movements being a recreation, the prices they're asking for it is ridiculous. But overall, when it comes to a real true reissue, when it hits every mark, that one did a good job. It's a gorgeous piece as well. Okay, so more of you who are joining Mr. C, I'm going to try my best to refer back to you. I need to get into the chat and keep up with all of you, but at the same time, try and run the show. So What's funny is that there are 5 of these watches on the show that have been removed from the lot. And I've had to make a list because if I click on lot 54, lot 61, etc., the whole web page crashes. Okay, so one other thing, if you've just joined the show or if you'd like to keep up with what's going on, in the description below, if you hit the show more button, the description says a discussion and review of 200 watches. Just scroll down a little bit. You'll see that underneath it says link to lots 1 to 215. And you can click that link and it'll take you to the overall page so you can follow along if you'd like. Now, primarily there's lots of Rolex, I'll admit. And this is a good exercise because we can really judge what the industry is interested in, what's been going on, and really try and break down just where everything is sitting with regards to prices and sales. And as you can see, I mean, this Rolex here, it's just a standard, solid gold, 6-digit reference. It was estimated to go for between 15 and 25 Swiss francs. You can see at the bottom here, on the bottom right-hand side. That's where all the prices will be. So hopefully you can see that okay. But it's sold for 32,500. And you think to yourself, these watches aren't exactly rare. You can pick them up today. Which is just unreal. And I can try and flick through some of these. The real issue is when I click on the image, it takes you to a separate web page. And to get out of it, there's a whole technical problem. So I hope this is okay and you'll be able to see everything fine. Watch Champion asking what he missed. Not much. We're kind of getting me warmed up, at least, full of coffee. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. And welcome to everyone. Megan, Chip, Thomas, as he says, Rajiv, Ant. It's so great to have you all here. And I hope you enjoy it. It's going to be a different show to usual, as I've said a couple of times. We can just run through the selection of pieces. There are some incredible watches to show, but then some are pretty generic in the scheme of things. So I didn't even know that the show was happening. Let's run to the next piece. Another thing to highlight as well. What's great is the American to Swiss franc exchange rate, the dollar to the franc, is virtually identical. I think it's like $0.95 per Swiss franc, 0.95, 95 cents. So it means that you're basically dealing, when you look at these numbers here at the bottom right, you're dealing with that number in dollars, essentially. So $32,000 for this piece. And, it's very inflated. As we will probably see throughout the development of the show, you'll see the prices are nuts. So if you'd like to get a hold of me in the chat, tag me at IDGuy. I can get onto it, refer to you. If you'd like to ask me any questions about pieces that you're considering, I have a separate tab open so we can all have a look at them. But really, I want to try and keep it as close to this show as possible, with regards to the lots. There's over 200 watches, so it's going to take a while. Right, so let's get past the Submariner and go to the next piece, a simple Batman or Batgirl, whatever you want to call it. And here is another example. Okay, first thing that I want to comment on is the description of these watches, because I think it's just so overdone. A fine, attractive, well-preserved, rare, special. You see that with every single piece, and it kind of loses its grab. As we get through, just keep reading this description, which is on the right-hand side. It kind of gets a bit heavy. I don't know if they're trying to follow algorithms or something here, but it's, yeah. Anyway, so it's 2019, estimated between 8 and 12,000. And sold for 25, which is just like, what? Why? What's the deal? Why would you spend that much on just a standard steel piece that, auctioning? When it comes to auctioning, it's really competitive, and that's just the way it goes, I guess. So, and Blue Shirt's joining, great to have you. You're not late. Mr. No Date says 30% buyer's premium on top. Can you tag me in the chat and address that in a bit more detail so I can explain it to everyone? Because I don't understand. Is that tax on top of the price of it, or is the premium included in the total sale price? Didn't the Pepsi go for 30? Zane, I just we're going to get to it. I really don't understand. Anyway, some are worthy of the price for sure. Others are just ridiculous, eye rolling. And another thing I wanted to address it slipped my mind. So between today and tomorrow, the 28th, they're doing the next 100. So the first 100 they've sold today, as we'll see, and the last 100 they're going through tomorrow. And there's some amazing vintage pieces in tomorrow's lot. So yeah, just a ceramic Batman, ridiculous price. Another example here, between 12 and 18,000, this was expected to go for. Pretty understandable. And then this sold for 32.5. Again, this watch it's not even the in-demand Daytona by any means, but auction, that the whole joy of the anticipation, the adrenaline of getting into the show, I'm sure must really, drive people up. It's just a simple ceramic gold with a rubber B strap for 32.5 grand. Are you out of your mind? I think it's just nuts. I mean, between 12 and 18 is reasonable. And then they just pretty much double that price. Anyway, it has to be some backhand funny business here. Makes no sense. Zane, it gets worse. It's going to get worse. But I mean, just as an opening, you can just see how inflated these prices are. You can't believe it. So again, if someone would like to explain the buyer's premium situation with me, I would like to know a bit more detail about just how that works and if that is included in the total sales price. And I hope you're seeing this all okay, that the numbers on the right-hand side, a bit of specs. If you'd like to see the specifications, you can scroll down. Again, in the description of this video, I have linked see, as I scroll down, so we get a bit of a problem here. Hold on a sec. I have included the link to all of these watches, so you can follow along with the show if you like, and, jump to the lots. We're doing pretty well, though. And Ryan, thanks for joining. There's a few more of you I need to say hi to because, again, I'm ignoring the chat and trying my best. Dogbear saying that IDGuy, that the buyer's premium is the commission paid to auction house, which sales price times 30% cost of buying at the auction. I cannot believe that. So really, these numbers aren't exactly true to form either, right? It's unbelievable. Anyway, so Megan says the buyer's premium goes to auction house. Thank you, Megan. Buyer's premium, yeah, thanks for that, bud. Okay, so it's a nice looking watch. I think what makes this one so effective when it comes to being a Daytona, this functional instrument, is that you can tell the time very easily because of those gorgeous, the numerals or the batons that have been surrounded by the black elements. You can also use it as a chronograph very effectively. The colors work well together, but holy smokes, it is so inflated for what it is. And only those of us who are in this space that discuss watches so often do we see just how hilarious it can get, some of these prices. Okay, this is better. So this is a Zenith. We would expect, and I mean, so this is another eye-rolling thing. This ended up selling for 27.5. And Zenith Daytonas are actually watches that you should be collecting. No, the estimate was just between 15 and 25, and it went for 27.5, which is it's not bad. I think I've dealt with Zeniths that were going for about 18 to 20 in the past, at least I've handled. So pilot style, if you buy a watch for 20,000, you'll be paying 26. That is unbelievable, unbelievable. Anyway. And some more of you here. If you can just tag me in the chat again, there's so many comments going on. I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. But yeah, just another example. I mean, the Zenith Daytona is great because they've really managed to hit the balance on the dials so well with this. I love how the sub-dials are placed. And if we roll back one, we can see just the difference between the modern piece and the Zenith. Notice how the sub-dials are pushed up ever so slightly. And this is when we switched over to Rolex's movements. But then back in the day with the Zenith, everything was clean and clear and symmetrical. Maybe not as legible, dealing with just the size of the sub-dials themselves and the visual presence. But 27.5, it's pretty acceptable, I guess, for this watch. Still, I mean, as we will see, I mean, just so far, the prices are very inflated, and it'll keep going. So, going to keep going through to lot number 5. What's next? So this is a 6-digit, white gold, automatic. Between 15 and 25 was the estimate, and it went for 37.5. I mean, another example of what? It's not the most attractive Daytona on the list, I would say. I mean, we're going to be dealing with 4-digit references soon, lots of vintage pieces, but again, the price. And another interesting thing I've just noticed, if you can see the end links here on the case, notice the end links are actually sitting proud of the case. So I feel like this is quite an early, 2005. So this might have been quite an early generation of the bracelet used on this piece. But all in all, I mean, it's got a nice racing effect to it with the numerals and everything else. But for 37.5, and you add 30% on top of that, gets a bit. Shane said that's a no for me. Not feeling the numbers. Yeah, it gets a bit heavy. It gets visually heavy. What makes the Daytona so effective is that it's nice and formal, nice and simple. Originally sold to Eric Clapton. Thank you for that, Chris. I didn't read that. It's very important to read the description. I just see it as gobbledygook half the time, so I really don't know what I'm looking at here. When they say a fine, rare, special, no, I kind of get lost. Originally sold to Eric Clapton. I guess that's important. Not really. And Eric Clapton's collection, I mean, he has some incredible pieces. Anyway, white gold as a color, as mentioned by Bud, it's an amazing, I think it works so well because it's understated as a material. You only really know it's white gold when you're handling it, in your hand. So I'm going to carry on through number 5, 5 of 200. Okay, the 5980. Now, look at the estimates. Between 25 and 45 sold for 100. And this is when we start getting really questioning the validity and why someone would spend that much just because it's a Nautilus and it's rare and collectible, I suppose. Not exactly rare, but it's collectible. Nice, but what I really enjoy about this in particular is the chronograph complication and how well centered everything is. Look at that subdial and how it's situated. The racing track is also very attractive, nicely balanced, clean and clear. Get a good look at the movement, which is nice. Again, if these pictures are showing up okay, I hope that's fine because I'm trying my best to keep the format pretty linear so we don't jump around way too much. Let me try and catch up with a few more of the chats here if I can. So Mr. No Date says, so for anything under 300K, it's a 30% buyer's premium. Anything over 300K, it's 24%, okay, to the auction house in addition to the winning price bid. I mean, that is just ridiculous. It's nuts. So for this example, I actually don't want to try and do maths on the show because it would just be a nut job. Zane's saying that the 5980 steel is going for between 100 and 110 last year. This is sort of reasonable. They're currently going between 85 and 90. Yeah, and it's a steel piece, right? It's not white gold, anything like that. Another thing I noticed, I don't know if you can see this very well. I won't zoom into the image to save us time, but there's crud on the inside of the bezel here. There's crud on the pushes. You would expect them to maybe open it up and give it a bit of a clean before putting it up for a photograph, but that's the way it is. I do really enjoy the symmetry on the dial. The one thing I wish they could fix, but of course they wouldn't, is the pushes on the outside. I know because the movement is standardized with many of their Calatravas and Aquanauts, they wouldn't change it. But having the pushes removed and having them a part of the actual shoulders of the piece would make it so endearing. Very beautiful, clean, symmetrical look overall. Might as well. I mean, I guess they're there for a reason to keep the case intact, but at the same time, you can do something a little bit more, I don't know, streamlined with the pusher. When you look at the dial is so streamlined in the way it's presented. I love the whole idea of a huge central subdial again that allows you to look at everything at a glance without too much work. But then you have these giant pushers that stand out. So anyway, for all of you here, thank you again, all of you who are joining and are a part of the show. This should be a lot of fun, just running through these pieces. If you're seeing this all okay, it's going to be quite effective because we can just chat around the watches that have gone. Again, another important thing is the first 100 have sold and come tomorrow, the next 100 go. So again, the link is in the description of this video if you would like to follow up with the pieces, check out what's going on as we run through all of these. Now, this is pretty special. I can honestly say I think I've only seen 1 or 2 of these before ever, when it comes to writing about watches and looking them up. This is a gorgeous looking piece, and it says made for the Hong Kong market, retailed by Unique Timepieces. I must say this reminds me of the Grand Seiko Peacock. It's just that gorgeous emerald green effect to it. So between 70 and 140 was the estimate, and it sold for 181. I mean, it's reasonable, I guess. It is stainless steel, right? So it's not exactly, but the complication is also special. It's perpetual calendar. It's one of the best movements that AP makes. And overall, I just think the color scheme, very effective for the Audemars brand. As you're seeing here, when we look at the box and everything it's presented in, even comes with a leather strap. The color scheme really does line up with what AP does. But then saying that, I just like the uniqueness factor, the fact that it gives off that peacock effect, even down to the GMT. Is that a GMT? No, it's not. It's a weekly indicator by the looks of things. This yellow arm running across. You've got the full set. You've got day, date, month, leap year, and then you have a week and a moon phase. It's nice, and the symmetry is great as well. You see a very nice balance on the dial. We've actually discussed this before. and ignore the price, as Matthew says. I think that's important. Being able to ignore the price and just enjoy the watch for what it is something that we can really take in from this show, for sure. There are some amazing vintage pieces. We're going to be looking at Omegas from the 40s and everything as well. And price, at the end of the day, is just a number. We can enjoy the watch regardless of price. That's what we try and do here on the show anyway. And let's try and catch up. Again, if you can tag me in the chat, it'll be so much easier for me to read what you're putting out there, because I'm struggling to catch up. Zane's saying this AP is limited green dial, goes below retail. Not sure why it's sold as a premium here. Oral Bachs is brilliant when it comes to selling stuff, clearly. Anyway, nice looking piece. I do enjoy the balance and the symmetry on the dial. It looks filthy, Mr. No Date. It looks a bit scummy. Yeah, it's got some fungi growing on it. I do really enjoy the symmetry of the subdials and how they're placed. But then at the same time, it reminds me so much of vintage AP. You know, vintage dress, not vintage, just dress watches in general. So it's this clash of modern and retro and how they are approached. Don't know if it's the most effective, but at the same time, I think the symmetry is nice and clean to look at on the eye. Okay, moving through to number 8. I don't know how we're going to do all of this. Okay, so these are some Langes, rare and attractive set, 2 limited edition gold wristwatches, large date moon phase display. For some reason, these images were cropped in, I guess, because they had 2 together. Estimate to go between 30 and 60, and they sold for 56. I don't know if they sold together or not. Don't understand that too much. These pieces were from 2003, so relatively new. I'm sure this was one of the first times they were experimenting with the Lange 1 and the aesthetics of the Lange 1. I can imagine that the celestial arrangement kind of lines up with where the screws are and the actual bridges and the balances inside the case, which is something quite special. I mean, that's what you get for a Lange. You really enjoy the movements. Okay, so Doc Bap saying, I'm sure if the buyer of the green AP wants to have reminiscence of a GC, maybe. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind, at least. Kurt is saying current German shop Batgirl price is at 15.9. Buy on German shop and sell it at auction. I think most of these come with box and papers. I mean, it'd be quite foolish not to. But it's unreal just how auction houses manage to get away with murder. Anyway, going to carry on through. These images are nice, but as it is, I mean, I don't know how long the show is going to be. Okay, so we get to our first, classic Patek, a reference 5496, 2017. I didn't know they were still making these so recently. This looks very more like an early 2000s piece. You can see the numbers at the side here where it's between 30 and 50 estimate, went for 75. Clean looking piece. I will address this now in a second. Hans is joining us. Great to have you. And to the Patek Flip, thank you, Brick Lane. To the 150 of you who have joined and are watching, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's nice having a quieter show for a change, where it's a bit simpler. Back to a simpler time when the channel didn't have anyone following it, and it was just me talking away, talking complete BS to myself. So the piece, I think what they've done so well here, when we look at, again, these images are okay. They're pretty decent. Again, sorry if the resolution is not the best, but you get the rough idea of what the piece is about. So being it's a platinum piece, small detail, platinum perpetual, retrograde date. Okay, and that just basically means that once it reaches 31 at the base here, it jumps back to number 1. I love the symmetry of this dial. The separate windows don't look like afterthoughts because they're surrounded by gold. They actually look like they've been predetermined and placed in such a way. You know what I mean? Brummy, give it time. Thank you. And King of Kludge, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, nice clean looking piece. I really enjoy the symmetry shade, and the gold on the silver dial is also quite neat. Gives it a classical feel, but the contrast is what matters the most. You can read the time easily because you're dealing with conflicting colors. With a platinum case, I think it's very effective. I didn't realize that this watch is so recent, 2017. I was expecting it to be like early 2000s. You know what I mean? Right, and that rhymed very well. Going to carry on to lot number 10, Vacheron Constantin. Now, this is an interesting piece. I really enjoy the fact that this watch looks so plain and basic, but most of us know that it's a minute repeater when you see that little lever on the side. And there's a great movement shot, which we will look at in a second. estimate between 70 and 140, and it sold for 1,437. I mean, the numbers are just ridiculous. But it's platinum, limited edition. I wish this watch had Corne de Vache lugs. These teardrops, I just don't think are as, they just don't grab me as much, you know. There's something about the way the Corne de Vache lug, arguably it's a lot more old school. It looks very retro for what it is. This one, even more so, we could say. I just don't think it flows as smoothly into the case, but this is paying tribute to a traditional piece, and it does it very well. Let's jump to a nice profile shot. Let's have a look at the movement for a second. I saw a super chat from Thomas. Thank you so much, Thomas. Just wanted to say to James, if he's still awake, welcome home. So he has officially arrived home. James has had a, when he's back on the show, we must all just give him an applause for making it through. It's so great to have him back, and unbelievable. He's had quite a journey, which I'm sure he'll like to share with all of us when he's back on. Is that a Patek boob phase? Forbin says. The gold outline. That's how they do moon phases. I've forgotten what they call it, but there's a special name to it. Yeah, for more of you who are joining, again, thank you so much for being a part of the show. And 10 beautiful lugs, in my opinion. Chris saying 10 beautiful lugs, as in you're talking about these lugs. Look, I mean, they really are of the time, and I think that's what makes it very effective as a piece. You notice how the Romans have been integrated. I also really like the clash between the cream dial and this off cream color. And again, you're dealing with a minute repeater, and just the movement itself is incredible. The minute repeater complication is just something extremely special. 30, what does it say? 30 joules. Again, if the quality is not that good, apologies. 30 joules. That's quite impressive for a minute repeating computation. You'd expect something a lot more. Pity they don't have like an audio track that we can listen to it. Anyway, let me catch up with all of you in the chat again. Mr. C, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Christian saying, awesome to catch another stream live. How's everyone? Good question. How is everyone? It's a good way to start, right? This is, once again, a different show to usual. I thought this would just be a nice time for us to sit back and chat about what's on offer and the pieces that have just sold recently. So going to carry on through with the chat. I see Curtis saying, I'm most familiar with automobile auctions, which typically have both a seller's and buyer premium, say 10%. So buyer pays 10%, seller pays 10%, the house gets 20. Interesting. I mean, car auctions are quite a different area, but I think the format is pretty much the same. What I like so much about what Philips seems to have done very well is, position themselves in such a way that they can show off the pieces as well as, have the running catalog, talk about the sales prices. It was great. I mean, I caught the last, half an hour of the show this afternoon, and they have a full live stream going on, so you can keep in touch with everything happening. Brummy, thank you so much for the super chat. And all of you who have joined, thank you again. Not Patek's prettiest piece. Mr. No Day, I don't know if we were talking about Vacheron a second ago. I might have made a mistake there. Shot in the dark. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. As he says, great to have you here. Okay. So we're dealing with an AP 2007. This is an offshore. Well, it's offshore, right? That's what they would call it. Surprised they don't actually mention offshore on this list. But it's one of the early ones. And what I find amazing is that the early models were supposedly supposed to go for between 10 and 15, and it ended up going for 32.5, which is nuts. They were much more restrained with AP offshores, especially back then. In the original, I mean, we featured a few of them during Wrist Shot Week. The original offshores were very underrated in the way they approached their dials and everything else there. But overall, I think it is an overbuilt looking piece for sure, but it also has an elegant nature to it. Also really enjoy I would imagine, a crocodile strap that's been featured. And just the contrast. I think the contrast is something special. The black, the white, how you can read the time very easily. Basically, I wouldn't say it's very easy, but it's pretty complicated. The AP Offshore that Clive got was similar from Forbin. If I remember, it was a navy model that he got, and it's all blue. It's very clean, must say. Question is, do you prefer numerals or do you prefer batons on the dial? I'm more of a sucker for batons personally. I get Panerai vibes when I look at this, the way it's been arranged. But also do enjoy the way the subdials have been done and how they have been arranged in such a way. Next to the date complication that has a cyclops, so it's easy to look at. The Daytona was better. Kukuru, that's a good point. Okay, So I'm going to carry on down. So from number 11, we're going to number 12, and we've been running the show for 35 minutes already. How are we going to keep up with this? I don't know. So this is a very new reference 15500. This is one of the latest AP Royal Oaks that you can get. 41 mils, so it's quite a monster. Estimated between 12 and 18 and sold for 32.5. Again, another example. I just cannot believe how expensive the prices that they go for compared to just retail in general. I guess these are pretty inflated since we are dealing with a Royal Oak here, and these watches are in demand. But yeah, nice looking piece. There is a better example, I believe, later on. We do look at a few jumbos in a second. All I can say is that the selection of pieces are incredible, and I'm sure you'll find as we keep going through that get better and better. One of my favorites is a Zenith that you'll be seeing in a second. A Zenith El-Primero A384, it looks like, from the 70s, and it's tropicalized perfectly. So yeah, there's great variety, but lots of Rolex. I mean, one thing we can comment on is the hype factor that all these watches are getting with regards to, you know, the Patek, all the Patek steals, the AP steals, and Rolex steals in general are here in full force. And we can take something away from that. Kind of question, what is the deal? Why? Why is it that they are the so in-demand pieces overall? One of the rarest watches on the show is going to be Omegas, vintage Omegas, which is unreal. Anyway, Jenks saying that the AP Royal Oak going for 24K, cheapest new on Chrono 24. So this is pretty, but then again, this is the more modern variant. So I don't know. It's just, and again, the buyer's premium on top of it. Remember, 30% on top of the final price. Unbelievable. And yeah, and as Joseph says, the bug hasn't had any effect on watch prices, not at all. Anyway, again, I'm sorry if I miss you in the chat, because as it is, I'm trying to keep up with what's going on in the background and all of this. Okay, this is a great example. And again, the person who is responsible for listing this, a spectacular, massive, extremely rare. I mean, get these adjectives, get a bit excessive, you know. So 43 mil, 2017 variant. And I must say in rose gold, it's something very nice. But the total price it sold for, estimated between 100 and 200. And now you see that it sold for 250. It's quite a mouthful, quite a pill to swallow. But it is a stunning piece. I think, you know, when it comes to rose gold and Patek, they do a great job. It's very complementary. Next to AP. AP is much more of a richer, you know, copper that they put into their models, where Patek addresses rose gold in a much, I would say, toned down format, less in your face, less bright and brash, if you know what I mean. Tariq's saying that's a ridiculous price for a 15,500. Isn't even blue. I know, that's another thing, right? And Mason asking, is that a current model? Yes, if we're looking at the AP a second ago, that is a current model, 2019. You'll see the date over here on the right-hand side, along with the specs. If you can read it, okay. I hope the picture's okay for all of you. So another great example, we've seen the steel variant, going to see the gold. And I really enjoy the way they've done the dials again. The symmetry is fantastic. Black on black is also very nice. Understated, which is great. Moving next, number 14. Now we're dealing with some vintage pieces. This, I didn't even realize that these came out in 42 millimeters. 42 millimeter model, reference 3700, and from 1982, estimate between 70 and 100 and sold for 156. I mean, that's pretty reasonable. Overall, again, I cannot believe the size of this model. 42 millimeters. Talk about contemporary. I mean, this was in the 80s. It's quite unexpected, no? For a dress steel model. And there's something very charming about these pieces, because they really, as you can probably see from the watch on the wrist, it really doesn't, you know, make its presence known, so to speak. It is subtle in a way. And that's down to the way the batons have been addressed and the hands, clean, symmetrical, gorgeous blue dial next to the gold finish. And that's pricing for Patek at the moment. Yeah, it is, Megan. I mean, it's unreal. Blows me away. I mean, I'm not, again, this page is not about looking at watch prices normally. I don't like talking about it. But since we are talking about an auction, might as well deal with the price and, you know, the serious inflation that auction prices make pieces go for at the end of the day. Okay, going to carry on through. Again, if you can nail Tariq, did I nail it? That's good. I've met a few Tariqs in my life, so yeah, cool name. Wolf of Wall Street watch. It does look good, right? Okay, going to carry on through. Nice looking piece. I must say the presentation, the color, the blue dial looks gorgeous. It really does present itself well. And then next up, we're dealing with a real jumbo, another 42 mil from 1978. Oh my soul. White gold. That's something I didn't realize. I thought this was just steel. White gold. You can see the estimates. I cannot believe how much it sold for. Are you looking at that number correctly? 740. I mean, what? What? Right. So yeah, now we're jumping to the big leagues, clearly. You notice that they haven't really gone nuts with the adjectives here. They clearly don't want to sell it. I mean, highly rare and attractive. It's not exactly overboard. Bargain, as Stain says. It's ridiculous. I think it's just, what? What are you smoking? Anyway, so on the offset, you look at the piece and you think it's just a steel Nautilus. I mean, that's the impression it gives you. No, it just looks like your standard jumbo. But it ended up, yeah, I don't know how that worked out. I mean, you can probably watch a replay of the show and what happened. But you can see that there has been some degradation on the dial over time. I don't know how clear you'll be able to see it on your screens, but it looks like some of the tritium has leaked out, which just adds to the value of it. It makes me roll my eyes. Buy it as a beta, as Jenks says. I mean, sure. I mean, that's the way to go, right? White gold for 740. What? Plus 30% tax. So just add 30% on top of that. It's a really, really, really nice house that you just bought. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. Highly rare. Okay. Next up, so lot number 15. I cannot believe we've been running for almost 45 minutes and we've only done 15 lots. I'm going to have to speed through these. So this being an anniversary model, 40th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. Geez, and here we go, the description again, a massive, very rare, highly attractive. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's not very rare. They're still out there. You can still get these. You can get these models in their packaging still, untouched. So 2017, 44 mil diameter. It has beautiful baguette diamonds. And this is one thing that I love so much about how Patek handles their baguettes. You just don't realize what this piece is, what this piece houses until you get a close look. Seeing the baguettes, you wouldn't even realize until you have a closer look at them. Yeah, it's a gorgeous looking watch. I really do enjoy the contrast and everything else. And there was mention about francs. So when we're dealing with francs and American dollars, look at what it went for in the end. 487. Between 150 and 300 was the estimate, which I think is pretty nuts. Zane says this one makes no sense. They sell for 285, 290 used. This sold for 500. It's once again auction prices, just unfreaking believable. I was going to say something else about this. It just slipped my mind. Slipped my mind. Nice looking piece. I think the blue is a nice combination. It is white gold, if I'm not wrong. It's not platinum. Generally, yeah, it is. Generally, with platinum, we will have a little diamond at the base of the bezel. But again, the price for this thing is just off the charts. Unbelievable. Okay, going to move on through to the next. Let's have a look at this. Another 3700 with nicely set diamonds around the bezel. I'm sure most of us don't really enjoy diamond set pieces, so we can probably run through them pretty quickly. But overall, pretty much exactly the same as the model we saw a second ago from 1980. And this sold for 200 on the nose. So add 30% on top of that, and you get the grand total. Nice looking piece again. The subtlety of the diamonds, pretty well executed overall. But I still think the modern approach of how they've done it, with them being used on the batons, for example, nice and clean. And Zane saying this one was cool. I do enjoy it. It's a little bit of bling, but it doesn't stand out at all. The bezel almost looks fluted if you were to look at it quickly, which I think is something quite unique. Adds a nice touch. Okay, moving on to the next, Cartier, a rare and highly attractive platinum Cartier. That's something. The watch measures 29 millimeters in width, which is quite special, from 2000. So estimate was between 7 and 14, and it sold for 21. Nuts. And this case, I haven't seen this case format before. I haven't seen it to be something very popular. being platinum is something pretty special. I do enjoy the engraving that they've done here on the movement. I've handled, I don't think it was platinum, it was white gold. The amazing thing that you wouldn't expect with a watch of this size is its weight. The weight of it in your hand is something pretty amazing. I think it was a 1920s Cartier tank. Wouldn't even think it was called a tank. It was so heavy in the palm of my hand, and it was white gold. So I'm sure platinum has something quite a nice weight behind it. Megan, Megan's back at it again. Thank you for the super chat, Megan. As Thomas mentioned, Dad, after many weeks in ICU hospital fighting the virus, came home on Friday. That's so great. I really hope he's resting up well. He hasn't been smothered too much. He's been enjoying his time on the bed, just enjoying the sunshine. It's unbelievable. Can't wait to have him back on the show, and we can all congratulate him for pushing through and getting in. Teo, thank you for the super chat again. Oh, all of you are incredible. All of this money is going towards a project that I'm still working on. I try and do it as much as possible on the off hours that I get. And it's going to be great. It's going to be for the community, represents the channel very well. I'm sure most of you have guessed it in the past. Les saying not many of these prices make sense. No, Les, none of these prices make sense. I love watches, but here I'd rather buy a Scottish castle. It's another thing. I mean, all of these prices you can buy houses for, which is something that many of us, I mean, this is so low priority when you think about it. It's really just vanity at the end of the day. So prices really are irrelevant. I just thought it'd be nice to share such a huge variety of pieces in one place, discuss all the watches and really the state of what people want at this point in time and what they're going for. This is a 1996 piece. I can't say I've seen many asymmetrical variants. This looks like the tank was ridden over by something. And it sold for 37. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel believable, right? Again, BS mentioning the price. Why buy a home when you can have a fine wristwatch? Yeah, Zane, for sure. That's something else to add. I mean, fine wristwatches really make a difference. It's what we're in this hobby for. I mean, we love it. I just can't believe these prices. They seem amiss, honestly. They seem so inflated for what they are. Another example, here's a Cartier. Between 25 and 50 was the expected, and it went for 52. From 91, 38 mil diameter. Kind of reminds you of the Roadster in a way. I do enjoy the engraving at the back, though. I mean, that's gorgeous. That's all hand done, I'm sure. So they say it's a minute repeating perpetual. Ooh, small detail. So, I mean, yeah, it's not exactly the most attractive that I've ever seen. I'm hitting the coffee while catching up with you in the chat. Truth Fears, great to have you. Welcome to the show. Shot in the Dark says the auction house charges the seller commission of the sales on the said item, plus buyer. 30%, yeah. 30% on top of what the price is. So add 30% to every price that you see, and you'll get a rough idea of just how much these went for. Jeb's saying that he likes it. The peculiarity is quite nice. It reminds me of First World War, pocket wristlets from back in the day. Gorgeous sword hands. The overall layout is nice and clean. I don't really understand what this dial is at the top here. Maybe it's a moon phase. Maybe it's to do with the minute repeater itself. Interesting. Very vintage inspired, for sure. And we've looked at 20 watches so far, and we've been running the show for 50 minutes, and this is one of my favorites by far. Oh, geez, I thought it was an A384. It's a reference SP1301. Never heard of that before. But beautiful tropicalization. A 1971 model. Estimate between 5,000 and 10,000. I mean, really, talk about lowballing. Are you mad? Why would you want to? I mean, what's the deal there? Estimate between 5 and 10. You would expect this watch to go for something much higher than that. And it sold for 43. So here is a classic example of a watch that deserves to go for a lot more, in my opinion, because it's simply beautiful. And it didn't, compared to the ones that are in demand, quote unquote. So there we go. I mean, we've pretty much hit the nail on the head 50 minutes into the show as to just how skewed the desirability is for these hot models, quote unquote, and what you can get on the other side of things. I don't understand the hallmark on the back here, on the case back, but it's just such a beautiful looking thing. What an amazing looking watch. Leather strap's great. I would imagine it probably came on a Gay Frere bracelet back in the day, but that brown on the dial, how it matches the strap, is gorgeous. And what I also love is that nothing else has been affected. Notice that the red hand is still perfectly intact. The tritium has faded evenly. The white on the hands is just clean, clear. I scratch my head. I don't understand why a watch like this didn't go for a lot more. Estimate between 5 and 10. I mean, really. Bravo saying 500 minutes. That's something I'm worried about. So I got to motor through, or else I'm going to die. I was actually trying to do the numbers earlier, and it's pretty scary. Let's play golf. Let's play through golf travel show. Could this be dealers boosting prices to bring the market up? It is, absolutely. It's another thing that we should all just clarify is that the desirability comes from people telling you that they are desirable. We look at, as we get to the vintage Rolexes, they say they're rare and desirable and all of this. In reality, there's so many more rare pieces out there. A 5513 is not a rare watch. Come on, you know? Here's another example. Here's an A3817, extremely attractive, rare. Between 8 and 12, went for 40. I mean, that's pretty decent. That's a stunning piece. I mean, they've just done a recreation of this model, but this adopts the more, what do we call this? The Golden Gate Bridge style minute track, racing minute track, which looks stunning. I love the subdials. Interesting that they've incorporated black on the seconds hand here. Beautiful watch, simple, plain, understated, 37 mils, which is a nice, I actually think it's quite a contemporary size for a chronograph. And going to catch up with you in the chat again. If I miss you, apologies. Taylor's saying I'm obsessed. So 70s, and that's it. I mean, there's so much value to be found in some of these pieces as we go through, and you'll just notice the sheer inflation with some of these pieces. Christian's saying at this rate, I'm going to need several streams. That's the thing I'm a bit worried about. It'll probably be 3 hours at this rate. I'm going to try and motor through some of them because I'm sure there are going to be a few outliers that we won't stick on too long. Okay, here's an example. Rare, highly attractive, glossy black dial, luminous markers, telemeter scales, World War II, 1945, 38 millimeter. I mean, this is cool. Tachymeter scales. They did mention telemeter. I don't see a telemeter scale here. Do you? Did they just botch that? Telemeter scales. I see 6510. I think they might have botched that listing detail. I don't understand this. If this is radium, how is that still glowing at this point? Has it been reloomed? Really don't know. But we're talking about a war-based model. You can see, I mean, the telltale signs with these. Oh, there's the telemeter scale inside. Interesting. These models generally have an overlap with the way the subdials are done, and it's pretty attractive. Nice balance, nice setting. That's the inner ring. Thanks, King of Kludge. Matthew's saying maybe the regular description guy was off sick. No, I mean, that's generally how they list these watches normally. When I see Phillips and how they auction their watches, they tend to really like overdo the descriptions most of the time. I think it's when everything is excessively listed, it kind of loses its hit. Great looking piece though. Really enjoy it. Gives you that officer's model, you know. Going to carry on through. Oh, here's another example that just makes me roll my eyes. I don't understand. Estimate between 25 and 50. It sells for 56. This is a gorgeous, I mean, this really is a stunning aqualung. And you cannot, I just don't understand why this watch isn't going in the 100,000 bracket. Look at it. It's beautiful. It's so clean. It's been so well preserved. This watch probably hasn't even been used in its life. And again, another clear example of watches that are sold for the hype value, when you can deal with something like this, that in my humble opinion it's one of the most important dive watches to have ever been made. And look at it. I mean, can you get something even more beautiful out there? You know what I mean? Juan, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the super chat, Juan. I've seen your emails. I have seen your emails. And again, for Wrist Shot Week next week, you can start submitting. We're going to have a great time. Saturday seems to be a good time for all of us to just come together and chat. Thank you for this, Juan. Really, I appreciate it so much. And referring back to this watch again, I just look at how intact everything is. The dial, the tritium, the hallmarks. And again, the description is just so understated. It's like they're not even interested in selling it, you know? Date of production, I would imagine Ben is asking, 1955, 42 mil diameter, beautiful. One of my favorites in the lineup too. Yeah, just blows me away. Okay, now we're dealing with a few more vintage pieces. Longines from 46. reference 5699, as you can see. Again, between 20 and 30, sold for 43. That's pretty acceptable. The caliber that this watch used, though, I mean, can you get a more clean looking movement in a watch? That is absolutely stunning. Longines, that era between 30 and 40 and the 50s, Longines was making the most incredible stuff. And I'm sure this was a contractually made piece back in the day. I don't know. I'll refer back to it now to have a look. I don't know if this was built. I don't see a telemeter scale, so it's not technically built for, you know, the war situation. But overall, I think it's just a stunning looking watch. The price is pretty acceptable for this, but the movement is beautiful. Clive is joining. Welcome, Clive. Great to have you. Yeah, and Bjornar, I botched your name. I'm sorry. Saying that Blancpain is awesome is stunning. I mean, again, we will see many more of these, but no, that's the way it is. Thank you. Okay, we're going to carry on through. Next to the Zenith, 1967. I mean, this reminds me of a few that we've actually featured on Wrist Shot Week before. Estimated between 4 and 6 and went for 8. Interesting. So here's another model of that time period. It's a very quintessential, you can see it's a watch that really is established in the 60s because of the way the dial's been done, very understated and low-key. Beautiful, beautiful dial as well, almost like a dove gray finish to it. Okay, so going to carry on through. Again, we've got 200 of these to go through, and this show is going to be going on for hours. Here's another great example. I mean, we've just seen a recreation of this model in particular by Revolution Watch. No? Between 7 and 14 was the estimate. It sold for 15. This watch should have gone for a lot more, realistically. 43 mils in diameter. Movement signed, case back further engraved. Chronometro Tipo CP2A. Carelli Roma. So I don't know what that has aligned to. Maybe that's just to do with a racing-related scenario, or I don't know. Is it military issue? Maybe. Probably. This is a military issue piece. I'm pretty sure. Bunt strap looks great, nice and clean, simple, clear. Shane saying nice, speedy. Yeah, Hans saying 200. Yeah, better get the sleeping bag. It's going to take a while, so I'm going to have to motor through some of these because I'm sure you'll flick through the diamond inserts and everything else. King of Clutch saying MM stands for Marina Militare. Really? So this was given to the Navy of some kind. That's interesting. Thank you. Okay, now we're dealing up for one of my favorites, 1655. This one's in pretty good condition. And Megan, I know Megan's in the chat somewhere, I hope. She can give us some more insight on the prices of these because she does deal with these models. So I'm sure she can give us some details when it comes to the blown up prices for these. So between 15 and 25, and it sold for 37.5. That's ridiculous. Honestly, that's ridiculous. I hope it comes guarantee and box. That's good. Mark 1 dial. And you can tell it's a Mark 1 generally because it has a stick seconds hand. Really clean. I would say it's been looked after pretty well. It still has nice chamfering on the case. Can't see it very clearly. Sorry about the image. I'm trying to keep this as clean and simple as possible so we don't have to like waste time scrolling. But yeah, beautiful. One thing I love and one thing I think it's important to look for is the GMT actual bezel and notice where the paint is and how it's filled in. That's important to look for. Nothing worse than losing paint on your bezel, you know what I mean? Yeah, it looks great. Really well looked after. This bracelet, though, is not original. It's a bit of a problem. This bracelet should be integrated and not a hollow with a floating mid-link. So that's something to pay attention to. This model came out in 72, so it's one of the earliest, actually. Not bad, not bad. And Megan's saying that it's, yes, the 1655 is worth between 25 and 75. Interesting. So yeah, it's a great piece. I think it's so obscure, and that's what I really love about it so much. But again, the bracelet doesn't look original, and that can really hit you in the nads. Moving to one of the most interesting, simple, basic explorers, 1016. This one, as they actually express pretty well in the description, well preserved. This one looks quite clean. Does seem like it has been polished before in the past. No. I don't know. Someone can maybe tell me. But overall, I think gorgeous. The way the dial's been looked after is stunning. Between 10 and 15 was the estimate, and it sold for 18,750. I think that's pretty reasonable. I've seen them going for 20 on average. Good example. I mean, if I wanted a one Rolex collection, I'd get a 1016 put it on a Jubilee and I'm done. I mean, that's it. That's all you need. I'd be able to rock this when I want a Rolex and my Seamaster when I want Omega, done and dusted. There is a Ben Clymer video where he says he bought his 1016 for 3K. And that's, I mean, what, in 2013, 7 years ago. Again, it's an example of just how inflation has really driven this industry. Nice looking piece though. I mean, you cannot deny it. It's beautiful. Not just talking about it being a Rolex. I mean, I have a Smith's that mirrors this watch in many ways. I think the aesthetics off the charts. One of the best they've made. Okay, now we have another Zenith. This being, what do they call this? It's the Italian, what is the model? They don't actually specify. There's a special Italian name that these models have linked to them. 1994. It has been polished, worth about 12K. Megan, thank you for that. Important. And Scott asking, what is CHF? Swiss francs. And the nice thing is that the pricing parity is the same with dollars, basically. 95 cents equals 1 Swiss franc. So you're dealing with dollars here, basically, when you look at these numbers. Estimate between 30 and 50, and it's sold for 43. I think that's just nuts. That's very, very overdone. Patrizzi, thank you for that, Dan. I've actually handled the Patrizzi before. Nice. I must say the way the subdials have aged is pretty unique. This is actually very mild. Generally, they go really dark. But again, talked about Zeniths earlier. Nice looking piece. Looks all correct. It has been polished, as you'd probably expect. Sadly, I mean, why do they have to polish these watches? Tropical registers, as they highlight. Not bad. Nice looking piece. Seriously overpriced, though. I hope I'm not the only one. I would imagine a watch like this to go for 30 at maximum. So for 43.7, it's a bit much. Okay, now we're jumping to the more 4 digits. This looks like a Sigma dial. Yes, it is. Sigma dial 6263. Between 50 and 80, and it sold for 87. Not bad. Also very, very overpriced. And Megan's saying it's just crazy. It is. It really is crazy. Okay, I'm taking a hit from the coffee. I'm losing my voice. Pretty good. We've been running for an hour. We've gone through 30. I'm going to have to motor. The show is going to get long. And I think since this show is sponsored by a Fisherman's Friend, I might as well grab one in a second. Bud saying, I've been popping in and out. Yeah, great. So overall, I mean, the bezel is a bit used. What does it say at the back here? Peru. Interesting. That is a very scrappy engraving. I'm sure you can get that cleaned off. But it's good to see the case back's original. I can't see any service marks. I don't think that's a service hallmark. I've handled a similar one to these once. I don't know if, I think it was all black though. We'll be seeing one in a second. It is Peruvian Air Force. That's good to know. So this is actually linked to the Air Force. Nice bit of history. Pricing is pretty unreasonable. Absurd price, beautiful dial. It is quite nice. I must say the Panda aesthetic, it also has that champagne effect. Nice and clean, easy to read. Very quintessential 70s. Okay, going to carry on through to the next piece. And I'm feeling, okay, now we're dealing with a 1680. Hans saying, when are you doing another viewers watches? Wrist shot week, Hans, next weekend. So my email is in the description of this video. Scroll down a bit. You can click the little drop down. It says show more. And my email should be there at the very bottom. Send me all the wrist shots you want, and I will save them starting next week. And we can have another wrist shot show next week, Saturday. Okay, so what? Oh my, look at the price this sold for. Estimate between 50 and 80, and it sold for 72.5. I mean, I just cannot believe watches like this can go for so much. The prices have just like quintupled over the last few years, like 3 years. They've just gone ballistic. Clam, thank you. You say, on behalf of all my fellow watch friends, mates from the USA, thank you so much, Clam, for the super chat. So, one thing that is very nice about this model, Philips does seem to collect very great pieces when it comes to just authenticity, and the dial itself. The dial patina is looking very good. Clean. There hasn't been any replacements anywhere. Another Peruvian Air Force, as mentioned in the chat. That's a nice bit of heritage. And funnily, one of the most rare Seamasters that I showed, at the beginning of the show, I showed off my little 57. One of the rarest was actually submitted to the Peruvian Air Force, and they are the most sought after CK21. I'm going to botch the numbers. I'm doing so badly. 1680, nice looking piece. The bezel has taken quite a knock. I'm sure this bezel has been replaced unless it's been left somewhere. But yeah, just the prices are just overboard. Again, you can see them at the bottom right-hand corner if you want to follow along. Moving on. Okay, so this is a pretty rare model. Rolex Passion Report covered this piece on Instagram. He was discussing it. Estimate between 250 and 500, and it sold for 400. Just remember that back in the day, these were just watches to be worn. You know, they were just to be worn, and you know, it has a unique Explorer dial, which is something nice. But really, I mean, it is pretty rare. I think you know, overall, it's a big crown, so it's the same case as the 6.3. What's it? The big crown 6538. The 6358. Oh God, I'm going to be botching it all day. They popped the bezel off to show you the inside, which is nice. Overall, dial's been corroded over time. This being made in 54, this is probably a radium dial in and around this time. But the Explorer aesthetic is something unique. And if Rolex ever had to bring out another Explorer dial variant of the sub, I think people would go absolutely ballistic. You know, you get a 2-in-1 watch here. And Megan's saying, I think I need to send a few of my 1680s to Audemars. You should. You really should. The watches that you have, as your collection goes, you would get top dollar for all of them. I mean, the prices are just so inflated looking at these. Think about it. This one, on the other hand, it is pretty rare and unique. And it's very hard to source these kinds of models. Yeah, but overall, there's talk. Again, comment in the chat. Tag me in the chat if you'd like to get my attention. Nice looking piece, 37.5 mils in diameter. It's great. And we're going to be seeing more of these along the way. And then we jump to a Vacheron, 1956. I don't think many would have an interest in this, as the sales prices show you. Between 2 and 3 was the estimate, and it sold for 5. Gorgeous looking gold, though. You know, over time, this corrosion, we wouldn't call it corrosion, oxidation that the gold has had. It's gone like a rose finish. Nice and clean. Basic. I feel like Hodinkee has taken all of these photos. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks so much like a Ben Clymer wrist. It looks like a Hodinkee strap as well. Nice looking piece. And yeah, overall, not bad. Very period correct, I would say. 1956, 32 mil diameter. It's pretty small. I mean, 33 is small enough, but 32, it's a little bit much. That's a Hodinkee shot, pilot style. I feel like Hodinkee has sent in a lot of their watches to be sold off. Who knows? Next up, this is pretty special. I do like this combination. So this is a 1509 Patek. Between 7 and 12 was the estimate. It sold for 16. 1945 it was made. I do enjoy how these lugs work with the numerals around the dial. Hobnail points, really clean. This is more Corne de Vache styled in a way, you know, hooded lugs, as GM Shadow Traders says. Yeah, really nice. I think it is quite a stunning example. Very complementary. I think that's something we can take away from some of these pieces, is how the elements work together. This example that we're seeing here, the way the lugs work with the dial, complementary. Next to the Vacheron that we saw earlier, not as complementary, I don't believe. Yeah, 35 mil case, not bad. Really understated, which I like. Between 7 and 12, and it sold for 16. I mean, that's quite a shame. Could go for a lot more. So is this an anti-magnetic from Patek? Interesting. So this being from 1962, another 35 mil diameter. Between 30 and 50, and it sells for 100 and I just cannot believe it. And it's stainless steel, people. So this must mean that being anti-magnetic, it was one of the first. It also has a signed, I'm not very familiar with Gubelin. I probably botched that name, but I would imagine it's a retail house from back in the day. 1962, anti-magnetic, so I'm guessing it has, what, an iron cage around it, Faraday cage. Still, I think it's a bit much. For 140, what are you smoking? Well, the Smiths, Zombie says, I featured a Smith at the beginning of the show, but that's about it. So pilots are saying experimental exotic lugs are frowned upon these days, but I think there's a lot of design potential in them. There is. I mean, something to point out is that back in the day, they were being so experimental. Here's another example. A watch that takes, it's a very tonneau-esque case. They take inspiration from past elements. They try and bring them out. There's so much opportunity. I think Corne de Vache lugs, one of what Hodinkee did with that Vacheron reissue that they made, one of the best, because it's just so well executed. So this was estimated to go between 25 and 50, and it went for 55. I mean, this is a gorgeous Patek. It's a perpetual calendar, ladies and gentlemen. This watch deserves so much more attention for what it is. Breguet numerals. It's just not a watch that's desirable. Therefore, it doesn't sell for this. I mean, really, what you're getting here, look at it. Okay, hitting the coffee again, and I'm popping a fisherman's friend. So I don't know how I'm going to make this show. At this rate, we'll be doing 90 watches in 3 hours. Okay, I've got a motor. I do love the tuxedo effect here. It's really nicely done. Mooseman says Gribbelin still exists today. Thank you for that. So that's a retailer, kind of like there's a few others. Bayer, for example, it's another firm. Tiffany & Co. So in this example, I think this is one of the best. I mean, this deserves the price it goes for sure. If this was in platinum, look at the sales price, people. Between 200 and 300 was the estimate, and it sold for 6. Unbelievable. Overall, I think this is one of the best that they've ever done. I think it's so clean and beautiful. It really is. It really screams Patek of that time. If it was in platinum, I would appreciate the price that it went for, but holy smokes, I think this is too much. Way too much. But these are rare. If I'm not wrong, there's very few of these in the world, so it kind of makes sense that these are going for the prices that they do. And there's a couple, I think, what's his name? John Goldberger has a model very similar to this from a certain time period that's also very rare. Okay. Did they just have no idea of sales price? Well, you can't get these nowadays. They're that rare that there's pretty much like 10 of them in the world, I'm pretty sure, this specific reference, but it's just too much, way too much. Okay, going to carry on through here to number 38. Oof, here is a cool example, really nice. And this is when we talk about the real golden era, some of the most beautiful Pateks ever made of that time period. This is an example, 1518, between 1.2 and 2.4. It went for 338. It's a hell of a price. So it's pink gold, which is something special. And 1948, right after the war, you have just a gorgeous placement. This looks like a telemeter scale. So technically, this could have been used in a combat zone. Blued hands. I mean, I do enjoy the fact that they document everything here. We've got a nice engraving at the back here, and paperwork, everything else. It's what I like so much about these models compared to the very brash sports pieces is that Jean-Claude Beavers, that's so Mr. Naudet. So this is an example. Is this his actual watch? Didn't see. Maybe if I scroll down to the real description, we'll be able to cover it. But I do enjoy the fact that these are just so understated for what they are, really. I mean, this has got the full deal. It's not only a chronograph, but it's a full perpetual calendar. And I mean, this was 1948, the golden era. And they were making this kind of stuff. I mean, even today, the complication is seen as one of the best in the world. Tayo saying, almost pulled the trigger on this, but decided to buy an island. I had my eye on. Yeah, I mean, again, prices of these, it's just eye-rolling. I've never seen this kind of bracelet integration with a model like this, but what a beautiful, beautiful Vacheron. And when I looked at it, I thought 60s, but I see it says circa 1950, reference 6111. Between 10 and 15, and it went for 25. What a beautiful looking watch. Really stunning. I mean, this reminds you of a Patek. I think the way the hobnail batons have been addressed, it's so clean. I think to myself that this could be like an early reference Calatrava, maybe, in the way that it's presented. But yeah, Vacheron, again, there's been mentioned before on the show that Vacheron is so underrated, and it really is. It's a brand that you should all be putting your money in if you really want to enjoy high horology with just, the finishing, the attention. So great example from 1950, 35 mil, a little bit small, but still, I mean, for its time period, beautiful. I think the way they've done the dial here is something else. Okay, got a motor. Okay, and just in contrast, here's a 2508 reference. I would imagine this is also Calatrava territory. I don't know if they've called this Calatrava. Between 10 and 15 was the estimate, and it went for 17. Looks pretty clean and clear. Simple, basic, very understated, typical Patek. Also notice that it's actually loomed. It actually has tritium inserts inside the batons and on the hands. So you could technically use this in the dark back in the day, but really, I don't know so much about a dress watch like this that's actually loomed. Look how they've described this. I mean, they really don't go to town with a model like this, which is pretty hilarious. Okay, I'm going to carry on. Oof, that's stunning. That is beautiful. Going to catch up with you here in the chat if I can. See, as it is, what's nice is everyone's sitting and listening, so I can actually just talk and get the show going. There's not much going on in the chat, which is a bonus. Welcome to the show, Tao. Great to have you here. And would love it in stainless steel, Truthfear says. There are no Seiko SKXs. No, there isn't. I don't think there is a single Seiko on the show, which is sad, actually. I mean, Grand Seiko, they've done some amazing pieces, and you could expect that, for example. But they have stainless steel Rolex from 2020 on the show that we will be seeing. This is stunning. Pink gold, 1955. Look at that complication. What's incredible, I mean, this movement basically, I mean, you look at this one now, and if you look at wrist shot week from last weekend, at the very end of the show, we look at a 5370, and the movement looks exactly the same. We're dealing with, what, 60-year difference between these two things. And the movements have been, hit so well. Notice this as well. Estimate between 200 and 400, and it went for 325. So it didn't go over the estimate, which is surprising, because as far as examples go, this is one of the best I've seen. I think it's beautiful. Small detail, design detail, which is so effective here. Notice that the running seconds on the left is gold, which matches. Oops. Oh, no, I did not want to do that. This is a big problem. When you click on something, it zooms in and it botches the screen completely. The sub-seconds matches the hour and minute hand. The running chronograph hand matches the sub-dial on the right-hand side. So the blue on blue makes it very easy to read at a glance, as well as the running seconds and the time. Very good use of color and just everything. I mean, the pusher has some texture to it. Stunning model. This deserved to go for a lot more. Okay, now we're dealing with these newly hyped models that I've seen lately. I'm going to catch up in the chat a bit more. There's lots of talk going on. Jorna is joining. How's it? Great to have you here. Nice to have you. For everyone else who's joining, it's great. Any Invictors? No, I'm afraid not. There aren't any on the show. But we can now put a bling, Hans says. So let's chat about these lapis lazuli dials, and they have all sorts. I've got emerald dials. We're going to see a few of them. All of a sudden, the hype around these has suddenly grown. As of last year, I would imagine. I just saw talk about it more and more, and it seems like vintage retailers are trying to reach out a lot more with these models. So this is just a simple date just. I do like the fact that it has a president bracelet on it, though. Lapis lazuli dial is something unique, but I mean, you can't tell the time. I mean, you have to be pretty special to be able to read the dial without any plots on it. Estimate between 12 and 24, went for 25. Not bad. 1601, I mean, that's a very typical date just. This is not factory. Maybe it is. You'd have to maybe clarify. If you can tag me in the chat and tell me. I really don't know. But there's a few more of these. I think there's some reds and some. Here's another example. This is great. Day date. I think that the actual day added with the date makes this dial look a lot more, how would we say, formal in a way. It was supposed to go between 12 and 24 and went for 25. Again, these are examples of watches that I reckon should go for a lot more. Being an onyx dial as well. That's something nice. Scroll down and it should say if it's factory. Kukuru, thank you for that. Let's do that just once and see what happens. Manufacturer Rolex, 1975, reference movement number, case, model name, material, caliber, signed case, accessories, catalog essay. Oh my goodness. See, this is the problem. And then they have a whole bio around Rolex. It would be nice to just say if they said in-house. Maybe someone can tell me here. I don't know. But that's the problem. If I spend all this time looking at it, we're going to be stuck on these watches for such a long time. So this is a great piece. I really like the tuxedo effect of the day date complication. Megan's saying not factory. It doesn't feel like it, right? I love the factory icon there as well. It's great. Back alley. It's another thing. They don't mention that it comes with box or papers or any kind of authenticity. So, oof, I mean, that could be quite a scandal. Hey? Imagine all of these watches end up. This is a stellar dial, by the way. Someone mentioned it in the chat a second ago. Imagine a scandal where all of these watches are actually back alley made. That'd be funny. So again, another example of this bright green. And these watches are all from the 70s and 80s, by the way. So this one was estimated between 15 and 30, and it sold for 35. And is it white gold? Yeah, white gold calendar. Not bad. Interested in knowing this date complication, though. Is this German or is it Swiss? Maybe someone can tell me in the chat if you're there. Holy mother of green dials. Yeah, for sure. So there's a few of these. As we will keep rolling through, you notice, 1965. I don't know how long we'll stay on the diamond pieces. I know there aren't many real diamond lovers on the show. But this looks, I'm sure this has been factory made. They were doing factory setting back in the day. Vintage Hulk. German, thank you for that towel. Can't believe I guessed that. Yeah, overall, I mean, they managed to do their diamonds pretty well, subtly. What I really do enjoy with vintage Rolex is looking at just how they did the bracelets back then. Notice how the end link it's given like this latch effect and how it's attached to the case. Quite clean, quite neat. But again, diamonds pretty heavily done. Going to move on through. Oh, another example. This one looks like it was exposed to they actually say with burnt lacquer. It looks like the case has been put in a fire, you know? It's funny. And Tao saying, well, you like German watches. It goes with the habit. Yeah, I mean, that was just a complete guess. Bit of alcohol and coffee helps with the brain. 1803, I mean, all of these models seem to me like they're all aftermarket made because I just, have never seen this combination before. But I do like the effect of the dial. It's pretty clean. I don't know so much about the diamonds added as well. But talking about fire damage, I mean, what is going on with the side here? Another oxidation situation. Overall, not a bad looking watch. Pretty brash. And we'll notice over time that it seems like the hype factor for these are really, really building at this point. Producer Michael watches, yeah, I mean, he loves these pieces. These would definitely be up his alley. Oh, wow. Talking about German, pretty sure it's Austrian. Oof, I shouldn't say German. A rare burnt Rolex. So Megan's saying that my understanding is that these were done in collaboration, not at the factory back then. Oh, but you can be wrong. Yeah, I mean, who's to know? 70s. You know what happened back in the day. So this version, Hebring, between 3 and 5, and it sold for 21. How did that happen? 2018. 38 mil. I think some people were guessing that this was actually a vintage model. So I'd like to know more about this. Gorgeous movement, though. I mean, stunning. We have featured a few of these during Wrist Shot Week, and this example looks pretty gorgeous. I mean, they've done the Fotina pretty well as well. For a second, I thought it was tritium. Yeah. So going to carry on through. Guy Fawkes Special Edition. That's funny, Brummy. Very good. So 47 so far. How are we going to manage to run through all of these? Okay, well, I'm sure we can flick through some of these pieces because, I mean, we've seen a lot of these made before. 1 of 10, Jimmy says. Okay, that might be in the description. Might have missed with this. It looks great. Real field watch of the time. Inspired by the 40s. You've got cathedral hands and everything. So we have a chronometer bleu, or chronometre bleu. Just a standard jaune, very gorgeous. I've done a video about this in the past, but look at what it went for. Oof. Between 15 and 25, and it sold for 50. This watch has an equal amount of hype factor next to the Steel Sports APs and Pateks and everything else. But there are some gorgeous jaunes. There's some very unique ones that we will see in a moment. I think they did the dial beautifully here, though. It really is that what jaune makes addresses so well with these pieces is it's a very contemporary dress watch that's styled like a modern piece, and that's what makes it just work so well as a watch overall. His own unique styling. Why more brands don't have a running hours that follow the minute track in this beautiful form, I don't know. There's something so art related to this approach. Looks great. Underpriced, Christian says. Really? Is that what you think? I mean, overall, it's a stunning piece. I think it definitely has a great footing. It made some amazing history, but I mean, spoken about this watch a lot before. This, though, is something special because this isn't one of the original resonance models. And we have a few friends of the channel who do in fact own Journe resonance pieces. This one being made of platinum and pink gold. And I mean, really nice combination. Platinum outer case with pink gold lugs, crown. The resonance is an amazing complication I've studied up on, and it's incredible. Basically, these two movements are entirely independent, and they keep each other in sync thanks to that little divide there in the center. It's an enigma. It's a scientific enigma that's been addressed over time. And also notice it says with double escapement box and original technical drawings. Oof, that really makes the designer and me excited. Seeing the tech drawing of this, pretty special. I can't say this watch is for everyone. I mean, the dials, it kind of looks bug-eyed and a bit peculiar, but it also has like quite an attitude. It has this, you look at the eyes in this face, it looks kind of like it's frowning at you in a way, like it's lazy, the way it's been, it stares at you. It's funny. Silver-eyed panda. And Megan's saying that FP Journe you can now buy at Watchbox. It's crazy just how Watchbox seems to be really pushing Journe the most. I saw their weekend watches today, and they were talking a lot about Journe. Well, should I say Tim was sharing a lot of Journe pieces. Okay, I've never heard of this model. This is a Ludovic Baluard, 2009, 41 mil diameter, jump hour platinum. That's very cool. Why is the watch upside down? What is going on here? Oh, no, what? I really don't get it. Hold on. Okay, so what interesting, I think I kind of worked it out. So what happens is the red indicates the hour that you're currently looking at, maybe. And this indicates your second, your minutes, okay? So basically, that's amazing. So it actually flips and it goes red when it tells you what hour it is. Let's see, is there any proof here? I'm sure there is. These wheels look like they spin independently. Amazing. I have never seen a complication like this before. I don't know what is going on. No, I'm reading this wrong. I'm pretty sure this whole dial rotates over time and tells you, I really don't know. Again, we have so many pieces to go through, I'm going to get stuck, but it does look quite nice. I've never seen this before as a set. So I'd imagine this whole disc rotates, roulettes, and this red numeral then flips and matches the other colors when it's not the right time. I don't know. Reminds me of a rotary telephone. I think that's exactly what they were going for, Chi-Town. And welcome to the show. Great to have you. Yeah, going to carry on through between 20 and 40, and I went for 68. Pretty sure it's rare. I do like the complication though, special. Another unique piece, Thomas Pressure. Never heard of this brand either. 2014, we've got Year of the Dragon. I don't know what the dial's about, but let's see how this one works. We have 0 to, I really don't even know where to start. We have the quarters running here, and I guess these are the hours. So how do we indicate the hours running on the dial? Does the dragon hand or something highlight it? I don't know. But I mean, the finishing artistry, I would imagine this is all done by hand. So it's pretty special. Holy smokes. But it was estimated to go between 10 and 20, and it went for 22. So, I mean, again, the hype factor for watches, who knows? Okay, next up, MB&F. So this is a display. No, it's not. I thought this was a display stand. It's a running movement. They call this, what's the name of this gadget? So it's a full-on, I would imagine it's kind of like your, what do you call them? What do you call those pieces that you sit, an Atmos clock in a way? It looks like a complete, I guess the idea is that you have this stance, but then the full movement is integrated inside. It's definitely not a watch, so I think we will move across. Interesting though. And I mean, it went between 15 and 25. It went for 31 in the end. Peculiar. Now we're dealing with a 1940s Omega CK2186. I would imagine that this was pretty much issued to forces, possibly, maybe. Looks very much like a watch from the 40s. I mean, look at those numerals. Still very deco. Look at that 9 and that 3 with an Azzurro dial, two-tone. Interesting. I do like how we're able to jump between these super rare pieces and then the simpler stuff. Between 4 and 6, and it went for 13. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to keep up with everything going on. Oh, I'm so glad I just referred to my little crib sheet here. Lot 54 would crash this web page. So we're going to skip that and jump to 55. Stunning looking piece, very old school. Mention about slanted vintage Omega text. It is nice. And that the whole idea, that rotary, is that what you're talking about? The rotary effect of how the numerals match the minute track, nice and clean. I really do like it. Okay, jumping to lot 55. Got to keep this boat rolling. Eberhard, 1945. Jeez, between 40 and 70 was the estimate, and it went for 60. Looks like it has a split second. This is a flyback. Don't know. Flyback, maybe not, but it is a split second model. Gorgeous movement. I mean, another watch of the time. Does it have a telemeter scale? Looks like it does. 1,000 meters. Yes, maybe. No. Don't know. It's so difficult to tell half the time. I love it when dials just say telemeter. Brami's saying, any more robots? No, I don't think there are. And 39 millimeters, as Shane says. I mean, contemporary for its time. Also love the Breguet hands and gorgeous seconds hand that runs very clean and nice, symmetrical. So we're an hour and a half in, and we've looked at 55 lots. This is one of my favorite Omegas for the show, by the way. I think it looks gorgeous. I think we might be able to do this. I think. Kukuru asking, what's a telemeter? Telemeter scale was used to determine basically the speed of a projectile coming towards you. That was the idea in the military practice, but you could use it for other things. Basically determines this using the flash that you see in the distance, or the powder that you see, the smoke, and the round flying over your head. You can determine just how far away it is, if it's 1 mile, 2 miles. You can use it for thunderstorms and everything as well. It's a quirky complication that isn't really used a lot nowadays. So this is a CK2039, and it's beautiful. I love those hands. Reminds me of the Air Ministry. I don't know what you would call these hands, but they are stunning. You know, kind of hybridized spade style. Beautiful movement. We get to really enjoy those details here. 44 millimeters. Whew, that's something to pay attention to. 44 millimeter in 1939. That's pretty special. So this watch is very much a contemporary piece today. And I do enjoy it. Like, you look at the Romans and how they run around the dial. Also, just of that time period, the numerals actually matched where the minute track was running, and it looks so much more, I don't know, cleaner, conforming. That's a big boy. Okay, moving on to number 57. And, oh, this one's seen a bit of experience. So this is a IWC. They don't even give you the reference. Kind of looks like a Portuguesa, but it's not. 42 mils. Reference 325, stainless steel, very large, 42 millimeters from 1943. And I mean, look at it. It's pretty cool that the dial has been hammered. And I've just realized that I'm not looking at the sales. So it was estimated to go between 25 and 35 and sold for 30. That dial is not very clean for what it is. That is James. Welcome back, James. Everyone in the chat, if you can get into this little emoticon icon, and see if we can find an applause somewhere here. I'm going to try and get the show going. Let's see. Where is an applause hand sign? Can I do it? I can't. Let's see if this works. Welcome back, James. Thank you so much for the super chat. What a pleasure it is to have you here. You should be asleep, sir. You should be asleep, but thank you so much for the super chat. And geez, we have all missed you. All I can say is that Megan and Jacinta have been sweethearts. They have been so engaging with the show, and it's been amazing. I've had such a good time together. But really, I really hope you're resting up, and this weekend you put your feet up and enjoy yourself. Readjusting to life. I mean, James has been out of action for, I would say, almost 2 months at this point. So everyone, applause. This man has been through a lot, and all doped up on meds. Good to hear. Glad to hear. I'm also glad that they took you off that horse tranquilizer you were on, because ridiculous. What was it? Fentanyl. Fentanyl as a painkiller is just, it's so overkill. I tell you, IV paracetamol is the best thing possible for pain. Next up, we've got to carry on with the show, because as it is, I mean, 35 minutes, an hour and 35, and we're still rolling. As you can see from the chat, everyone is congratulating James. Yeah, it's such a pleasure having you here, James. Chip Gage, thank you for the super chat to the Capital Fund. That's great. It's amazing. It's so good having you back, James. Thank you for joining. And you really didn't have to. I mean, geez, you should be asleep right now. Okay, now we're dealing with something pretty special. And here is another clear example of a watch that deserved to go for a lot more money for what it is. Look at this thing. This is an IWC with a proper enamel dial, hand painted with a Gay Frere bracelet. Look at it. Absolutely beautiful. From 1950, between 20 and 40 was its estimated price. It went for 56. Can you believe that? I mean, look at it. For a second, I thought it was a Patek. And if it did say Patek on the dial, I'm pretty sure it would go for a lot more. But holy smokes, that is gorgeous. What a stunning watch. One of the best of the show, I would say, so far. Absolutely beautiful. Look at that dial. Nordic, Caravel, they say. I mean, this is proper Nordic, the way it's been done here. Or should I say Danish approach. Okay, moving on through. Another old school Patek from 54. Beautiful dial. Blue enamel. I'm going to keep motoring through because some of these watches I'm sure you're not very interested in. This was going to go between 80 and 160. It went for 162. Pretty standard looking Calatrava. Must say the dial is gorgeous. I don't know why they captured the aging on that hand, but hey, to each their own. And let's just catch up with everything else that's going on in the chat. Everyone's just welcoming back James. Oh, it's so good to have you back, James. Really, it's amazing. He's been through so much, ladies and gents. I'm sure he'll be sharing his background with us soon. And I mean, there's talk about how can they do this with the dial. It's absolutely incredible. And how a watch like this can go for so little. And Scott says now IWC is near death. I mean, look at it. Look what they did back in the day. 1950. Beautiful. And then we jump to Rolex. I mean, another example of how hype just deviates from reality. So an extremely rare and most attractive yellow gold with bomber lugs, blue enamel dial bracelets. So this is basically your, what we call this? What is it called again? Oyster case? No, man. What's it called? The original cases from back in the day. I've lost it completely. Estimated between 50 and 100, and it went for 93. We go back 2 watches. This one goes for 56. I mean, is there any comparison seeing these two? They are virtually identical. Bracelet gaps for 93. I mean, bubble. Thank you. Is that bubble back? Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Brummy. Bubble. So this is technically a bubble back variant, which is not desirable. It's not really in demand nowadays. That hype disappeared in the 90s, but I can't believe a watch like this goes for that amount, where that IWC went for half the price. Makes me laugh, really does, because again, you just see how deviated everything is. Okay, moving on to, no. 61, lot 61, botches it. Thank you so much, Phillips. But I do have a trick up my sleeve, don't worry. I need to copy this link and open it up again. You see what I mean? I'd missed out that 61 is a lot that's disappeared, and it just jabs you in the eye. So I'm going to scroll down and catch lot 61 again. 62, should I say. 76, 67, 68. So now you've just experienced firsthand what happens when they decide to just scrap a model. They've pulled a model out of the show, so the whole web page just crashes on you. Isn't that wonderful? Right, back at it. Gorgeous Patek Philippe. Rose gold, I would imagine, pink gold. There's a few more of you in the chat that I'm missing. And I think Thomas gave a super chat out. Thank you for that, Thomas. Thank you so much. Welcoming back James again. Jimmy saying crash. I know, it's hilarious, right? Megan saying streaming the show on TV. That is fantastic. Oh, that's so good. I hope he's enjoying it. It's such a pleasure having James back. Wow. Anyway, and Russell's just joined us. We've been looking at some great pieces. Megan saying I've tucked Dad into bed. Sounds quite drunk. That's great. So this is pretty rare. I mean, now we're dealing, this is right up Russell's alley for sure. Patek Philippe pocket watch, cloisonne enamel, beautiful dial, absolutely phenomenal. I love a dial that's addressed so neatly, where we have the continents fully expressed. Me, someone coming from South Africa, I'm now based in the UK. It's pretty good for where I'm living. But overall, you get all of Europe, you get Australia, really nice. You get Japan, China. You don't get America, sadly, but gorgeous looking watch itself. Overall stunning. And let's have a look at the complication, the movement. So this is from holy smokes, 1950, ladies and gentlemen. Small detail. Previously unknown, most probably unique pink gold open face world time pocket watch. Yeah. So estimate between 250 and 500, and it went for 1.1. I love the colors. I don't know if that was affected by the sun over time, or if that's the color that it's always been, with the continents being in red like that. Beautiful. I've never seen a dial that looks like this. Normally they're a bit more literal with the way they work. They're complicate. What am I saying? They're consonants. Gorgeous though. And it's a world time. It's the full package. Oh, stunning. From 1950, I must remind you. And 44 millimeters. That is tiny for a pocket watch. Incredible. Okay, going to carry on through to 63. How are we going to do this? So we're dealing with a reference 530, another rare piece. Estimate between 300 and 600. Went for 560. Another example of a watch, we've seen someone very similar to this earlier on. Another example that I think deserved to go for a lot more for what it is, because it is beautiful. And it's like, I just don't get it. The hype watches get all the attention and the simpler stuff. From 1952, 36.5 mils. Look at that movement and everything. It's a gorgeous watch. It really is stunning. Okay. And Megan's saying, bring back pocket watches and converting them to wristwatches. Yeah, I agree. I really agree. I mean, they're great. Okay, hitting the coffee again. I'd actually love to see the audacity of someone converting this into a wristwatch. It'd be great with wire lugs and a leather strap. Okay, let's talk about ETA in the chat. I think we're referring to ETA movements. Yeah, so it's crazy just how the movements are now being embargoed, basically, and now we can't get our hands on them, which is pretty sad. And now we have to revert to Ronda movements, I think, as a substitute. As of this year, I think ETA movements are completely going out of. Kukuru saying, just chuck it on a NATO. That's funny. Yeah, you're dealing with $1 million and just chuck it on a NATO. Another example. I mean, this watch, it doesn't look as effective as the pocket watch that we saw earlier. But bear in mind, they guess it was made between 1913 and 1937, and this is a world time from that period. I just cannot believe how it's developed. The brand, I mean, Patek as a brand, we know it. The reason why they get so much acclaim and love is because of what their movements have been able to do and just how they really established so many things back then. Gorgeous. 31 millimeter diameter. I mean, really? And I mean, they didn't really go to town with the description of this piece. Between 300 and 600, and it went for 387. This dial looks to be, I mean, nice to have it cleaned up, but overall, pretty incredible for a watch of its time to work that long. Celita copies ETA. Did I say Celita? I think I said Ronda. Thanks for that, Christian. Okay, moving to lot 65, dealing with another bubble back inspired model from 1945. From Jean-Claude Beaver's collection. Thank you, Joe. Is that this Patek that we just saw? That's great. It's great. I do love the input. We get so much more of a rounded understanding of all the watches and how they are and how they're sitting. Okay, carrying on through from 1945, 32 mil diameter. One thing I love about this model is the way the numerals have been done. There's a very specific Rolex that I want to talk about, the Chichester Oyster Perpetual, and just the way the dial has been arranged. It's so great. Why Rolex doesn't reintroduce them, I do not know. But this one, I mean, didn't go very far. Between 3 and 6 was the estimate, and it went for 11. That's pretty funny. Question is, should these watches come back into fashion? Should the bubble back make a new arrival? What a gorgeous looking Tudor. So this is just a standard, very basic from the 50s Tudor reference, no date. You can see that the hands, we call them alpha-styled leaf hands. I just think it looks gorgeous. It's so nice and clean, very period correct. We look at the way the dial's been done. Between 4 and 6 was the estimate. It went for 8. Still got the sticker on the back. I mean, that is something else. That is really something else. I prefer the Tudor over the Rolex that we just saw. I mean, in its entirety, I think as a package, it makes for such a nice dress watch. They actually use the word elegant pretty well in this description overall. It reminds me of the Chronograph. If you're referring back to this Oyster, yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure this bezel doesn't turn. This looks to just be an engine-turned bezel. And the blue hand, someone also mentioned that the blued hand, they don't heat blue their hands anymore. And that's a shame because it really is an art form. Gorgeous looking Tudor. Oh, okay. Now we're jumping to a bit more of a interesting retro piece. And I can't believe that this sold for the amount it did, actually. Between 15 and 25, and it sold for 27.5. That is so reasonable. That is actually very reasonable for what this watch is. Note, it is a pointed beak crown guard. I don't know if this is considered an eagle beak crown guard or not, but being a pointed guard for this price is very good. This person who won this actually got it for quite a steal, I believe. So it's funny because it seems like the beginning of the show, they just blew their load on the brand new models. And now we get to the really cool stuff and they couldn't buy them. I mean, they were paying 35, etc. for just standard modern gold pieces. Where here, 27. What a great example. Really nicely handled. I mean, the bezel looks original. The fade is even. The dial itself, the tritium has aged very well. Is that considered an exclamation? Yes, it is. An exclamation dial. That's something else to point out. But as far as 1675s go, this is pretty nice. It is very nice. Overall, clean, no damage to it at all. And that's the thing. You should hold on to your money as long as possible in these events, because you can sometimes really pick up a gem. And this is an example. It's a reasonable price, but actually no papers. Ooh, that's something, Megan. So you can't really tell about it just says, and bracelet signed. Important. I'm not referring to all the details on the right. Thank you for that, Megan. This one is highly rare, not just very rare. I just don't understand. The descriptions of these is hilarious. Moving on to lot number 68. Okay, and now again, we're dealing with a very rare This is just a 5513. I mean, realistically. So let's just try and narrow it down here. A 1970, between 30 and 50, it sells for 40. Signed Comex. Ooh, okay, that's something else. So it's got a Comex back. So this must mean it was quite an early developmental piece for the Comex divers before they actually printed them on the dials. Interesting. Okay, but as far as, so that's really it. The value for this watch comes from the Comex printing on the case back. Overall, the looks like the hands have been replaced. It looks a little bit off. Let's have a closer look. Is there anything to tell us otherwise? I don't know. Maybe it is all genuine. Do they mention anything about, once again, no boxes, original owner's career? Here we go. Let's see, with diving mask and literature about original. Okay, so it does have owner provenance, which is something. Yeah, pretty nice. Speaking of which, I watched the Antiques Roadshow video today. I think it was something that had been saved over time, but this lady brought in a proper pucker 5517 mil sub. And the auctioneer was so casual about it. And this watch looked stunning. If you watch Antiques Roadshow, sometimes you find amazing examples. I'm going to move away from this. We've seen so many 5513s. This is not bad. Between 12 and 22, went for 27. From 1955, pretty elegant. I like it. I'm gonna jump to another one. We're going to be sitting on these for so long. Another example, 1936. I mean, geez, they're really going back time. Dealing again with cushion case styled bubble back. Let's try and find another sports model. This is quite nice. I'll hold it on here for a second. This is a World War II era, you could say. So a 5517 mil sub was brought onto Antiques Roadshow, and this guy valued it at 40 grand. And I think he really underplayed it just because of her safety, because this 5517 was phenomenal. One of the best I've ever seen. And it was so clean. So if you watch Antiques Roadshow, I'm sure you'll find it. It's quite a recent one, I think. It doesn't look like it's been serviced. The dial is immaculate. The bezel is fantastic. It was serviced in 2004, if I'm not wrong. And it looks so good. So yeah, that watch could add 100 on top of that, and it could probably auction at about 140 grand for what it is, because it really is stunning. So there's a few more comments in the chats that I'm missing away. Eric Bell saying some Comex were issued. Most divers bought them from the company. 1665, 1981 could be bought by a diver for 175 pounds. That's amazing, Eric Bell. Thank you for that detail. So let's have a look at these dials here. So this being a 1937 piece, you can see that it has a telemeter scale on the inside, which is great, used to calculate time. I mean, the speed of sound and everything, pretty great. Overall, the piece, very reminiscent of the 40s era watches that we now know. And it really does fall into that ballpark, the way the subdials have been arranged and everything else. I really want to try and get to 100 watches by midnight, because that means, I don't know. I really don't know how long the show is going to go for. It's nuts. It is ballistic. I'm sure we can flick through some of these pieces. I mean, another rare Omega from 1939, great looking model. Another war era piece for sure. And I'm going to keep running through. Here's another example. I mean, we can stick on the steel sports because we enjoy them. There are some exceptional examples later on. Megan saying the 2508 is nice. I've bought a similar piece. Yeah, they're gorgeous, really are. Talking about that dress-inspired, very dress-inspired model. So this being a 5512, the bracelet looks period correct, 1961, between 40 and 80, and it went for 68. That is so high. Clive, you missed so much. You missed so much, but don't worry, there's still lots to go. We're on lot 73, and there's 200. So we still got some time to burn. Overall, it looks like these crown guards being pointed. That's quite interesting as a transitional go. I really enjoy it looks like the dial and everything is correct. Looking at the minute track and it being like a rail dial. The actual degradation is pretty clean as well. I just find it so hilarious. I mean, oof, look at the scratches here. I just find it so hilarious that these are the ones that everyone yearns for. And it's because of what everyone says is popular and everything. Anyway, 5512, I mean, it looks great. Did they mention rare? Yes, they say highly rare and attractive. Let's be real, people. There are so many 5512s and 13s out there. These aren't highly rare. It's just marketing. It is good condition, though. Notice the case. The case has been if it's been polished, it's been very well finished. The chamfering is nice and clean. Do really enjoy the bracelet too. Love the integrated. There's some nice quirks about the 5512 that makes it unique. Okay, moving on to 74. Date just. I really like all gold date just. It was a coffee-related effort, Clive, talking about you missing the show. And Ben saying, have to sleep. Thank you for joining, Ben. For all of you who have joined, it's an absolute pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed the discussion. We've still got lots to go through, and I'm going to have to motor some of these. King of Cludge saying that Steve McQueen had a 5512. He definitely did. Lots of debate between the 5512 and 13. I don't know if he had two. I feel like he had a 5512 and then a 5513 later on. Difficult, but he had some amazing watches. Okay, going to carry on through. Really nice date just, gorgeous hands from 1962. Anyway, from the state of CIA agent Francis Gary Powers. I don't know so much about this. Since I'm not American, I don't know the background here, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. A little bit of provenance there. Moving to 75. There's another example, like the beginning of the show. It was a question, motor through the Octavias. We'll get to all of that. I'm sure we'll see quite a nice selection in a second. He got shot down on the U-2, Clive saying. Interesting. I don't know anything about that history at all. So look at this. Brand new, 2018, between 8 and 12, and it sells for 33. What are you smoking, people? Or I just don't know. I just don't get it at all. I really don't. This is just a standard, bog standard. Someone was laughing about it earlier. He's from the band U2, Cruz says. Okay. Kept him as a POW. Thank you for that, Shaitan. Who paid 33? Exactly, Christian. This is just more bank than brains. This is just stupid. You've basically paid for triple this watch for what it's actually worth, realistically. Laughable. Absolute, just laughable. Moving on. Another example. Again, oh my. So what? It's just a standard black, 24-hour. It's gone out of production from 2014. Between 15 and 25, and it sells for 25,000. I laugh. I really do laugh. It's just too much. It does have an engraving. Okay, that's cool. Engraved case back. It's hilarious. We can motor through these because really there's just nothing to see. United States Air Force Thunderbird. Now that is something cool. I really like that. Julian saying more money laundering. Yeah. So BDev 215 lots at 60 seconds each equals 3 hours 58. That's it. I'm going to have to motor because as it is, we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. I'm going to have to flick through some of these a little bit quicker. Maybe what we can do is linger on the ones that are nicer than others. I like this. I really do. The eagle hallmark there, I mean, it kind of Captain America-esque. You can see it's American, you know, for the Air Force, being this date just that uses Air King motifs as well. Beautiful. I really like this. And it went for 175 grand, really? I mean, honestly, why? It's just a simple from 58. I mean, that's quite special. So is there a Thunderbirds tonograph? This is pretty close. This is about as good as it gets when it comes to Thunderbird tonograph pieces. Okay, moving on. 78. Oof, one of the winners of the show. This being a Gary, or should we say a John Player special, Gary Player. 1969, between 400 and 800, and it went for 1 mil. Blows me away. I've handled a reference similar to this. I've handled a GMT in all gold, not a 1675, an earlier variant. But I mean, the condition of this is pretty spectacular. That's something to point out. I mean, look at it. It's amazing. It doesn't look like it's ever been used. It looks like a barn find, actually. It really does. Yeah, and I'm sorry if I miss you guys. Clive's saying take your time. I can't make this a 4-hour show. I will die. But as far as John Player specials go, the condition of this watch is fantastic. There is no degradation on the dial. The bracelet looks sharp. I mean, there's no stretch to it whatsoever. This really does look like a barn find model. And I do love the combination of parts here. It's not only legible, usable, impressive. For $1 million, well, it's better than some of the watches we've seen already, I believe. I think it's pretty nice. John Player Special is very unique in the family. Moving to 79. And now we jump to, oh my soul, a 6232, this being a pre-Daytona from 1958. These are very sought after, surprisingly. And looks like Dear Artifact has just joined us. Great to have you here, sir. Okay, so this model, I mean, we're talking about a piece that was the real precursor to the Daytona. I don't think they actually mention it in the, they don't mention it in the description, surprisingly. Between 200 and 400, and it went for 7.4. I can't believe it. Okay, going to carry on through. Going to motor. So now lot 80. Oof, another red zone. Move to 81, because then the page would crash. And you see, we land to more of these pieces that I don't think many of us are that interested in. So this is another day date with this dial. This looks to be a wood dial. Okay, it's quite nice. Tiger's eye. I do enjoy the way they've attacked it, but again, it feels very much like a watch of its time. And is it as good as others we've seen already? Wouldn't say so. Between 18 and 25, and this went for 50. Pretty excessive. Another example, I do like this burgundy dial. Overall, what is it? Between 15 and 25, it went for 43. Notice how these watches are now slowly but surely percolating up. We mentioned it earlier, talking about the lapis lazuli models and all of those stone dials, that they seem to really be pushed by dealers. They seem to be really trying to get them out. 1986, not bad. Looks pretty good. Caliber 3135 says Nick Folks wears a wood dial day date, I think. He has great taste. I think what makes him a special character that I like to follow and listen to. Oof, don't know how long we can sit on this for. 1959, very rare, extremely important, special. So it's platinum, that's something. Diamond set, it's pretty nice. Between 100 and 200, and it went for 87. Oh, that's gotta hurt. So this is one of the first watches we've seen to go below estimates. How is that? That is something to pay attention to. One thing that's special about Nick Folks, I think, is he has great taste, a very broad, eclectic taste when it comes to practically everything. Fashion, cars, cigars. He actually has a show. Look up Nick Folks and Sons, and he has a show all about cigars. I don't know anything about cigars. It doesn't even interest me, but I just enjoy the conversation because their knowledge is just so great to learn. Still too high, as Russell says. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. Moving on to lot 84, another date just. See, we can just flick through these. Between 15 and 25, it went for 40. Nice color combination, though, with a tropic, quote-unquote, dial. Do enjoy it. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the 50s, but it is a 65 model. To lot 85. Oh, geez. Here's an... okay. Yeah, so talk about Folks. Look up Folks, Nick Folks and Sons, and you'll see a great discussion around cigars, which is always fun. So Megan talking about her collection past. And Amin Reviews joins us. Thank you, Amin. Welcome. And we would love to see your Moser again next week. Please, please send in your Moser to us for Wrist Shot Week. Russell saying stupid. I agree, Russell. That price is stupid. Between 50 and 100K for this. And it goes for 118. Again, it's like you see this watch and suddenly everyone must jump on it. In the beginning of the show, we talk about it a bit more and just how the hype for these models has just gotten to, we've looked at some amazing pieces so far that have not sold for the prices they should have. It's just this is a 3712. So it's a pre-5712, okay, from 2005. We know this model pretty well. Stainless steel for 100 grand. I mean, come on, really, it's laughable. This is quite nice. Wow, this sold for low as well. I'm catching up with all of you in the chats if I can, as much as possible. Lange instead radio, for sure. Lange all day of the week for a watch for that price. The Nautilus days are over. This was a year ago by this time. Yeah, I mean, this is an example. I can imagine why this watch wasn't really picked up, but it does have, being a 59, has an officer's case back, which is great. It's really nice. It has a sticker on it still. From 1999, between 20 and 30, and it sold for 30. So this being almost under the estimate, pretty hilarious. Great looking piece though. We've chatted about a similar complication earlier. Moving to 87. Oof, 5070, underrated watch. Really underrated. And overall, I mean, again, we've just looked at the Nautilus sale. This going between 40 and 60 sells for 68. It's pretty decent for what this is. Highly collectible. And many prefer this over the 5170. 5070 just attacked it a little bit differently. And I really enjoy how the bezel has been integrated and the dial symmetry's there. And it's nice and clean, really is. There's lots of discussions around these pieces. I'm sure Watchbox has covered these a lot before. Okay, moving to 88. We see a fully, oh cool, this is a platinum 5960. I mean, this is a great watch. There's no kidding that this is a great watch. Again, we've just seen the Nautilus. The Nautilus going for 120, this going for 72. 35 to 55, and it went for 72. This complication and the way it's been laid out, I love it. Tuxedo dial, stunning. And it's platinum. It's not steel. I mean, and it's fully sealed. Can you just get it in your heads? It just doesn't make sense. This is factory sealed. And, you know, this is enamel. Yeah, it must be. So it's an enamel dial. Just have a look. That's a good point. Doesn't mention it, but maybe it is. I don't see any black dial, they say here. But I just laugh because, I mean, you can get a platinum piece for literally half the price of what the Nautilus was bought for. Anyway, this looks great. And Clive's saying not as wild about the white dial. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think this tuxedo effect, what's great is that the windows, and they all match very nicely. It's clean and clear. You've got luminous plots, so you can actually read it in the dark. As far as Pateks go, this is a real holy grail. And compared to what we've seen already, it's just hilarious how some are just so underrated. Here's another example, 5159J, 43.7 it goes for, under the estimate, or the total, the full estimate. Also, unused. Sad, as someone said, poor Patek, not ever being worn. I mean, it is sad when watches are factory sealed and never used, you know what I mean? Anyway, stunning watch, it is. I mean, that last model, I love the tuxedo black. It really is great. This is not bad. I mean, we've already seen a very similar model to this, the 5059 or whatever it was earlier with the case back. Very similar reference. Moving to 90. Okay, now we're dealing with an estimate between 100 and 200. It went for 125. Again, another example that deserved to go for a lot more for what it is. A 3448. This being a full perpetual calendar, automatic, yellow gold, gorgeous mesh bracelet from 67. This watch deserves it. And whoever this gentleman is, this must have been his piece. So it's got a bit of owner's provenance, even though you can't see the watch on his wrist. I mean, 125. You would expect this kind of watch to go for a lot more. No? Who knows? Unreal. Sorry, Thomas mentioning something that I've missed with IDGuy and Thomas, Truth Fears. I don't know. Don't know what's been going on here. Anyway, I'm sorry if I'm missing your chats. I've got 200 pieces to motor through, and we've already gone past the 2-hour mark. So yeah. Sparkle's asking, any Casio sold? No, afraid not. Gorgeous bracelet though, really period correct. Looks great. And we have a vintage Movado from 1950, between 2 grand and 4 grand. It went for 7.5. I mean, it's pretty funny. 1950. So you've got a few wall motifs involved here, and I mean, it's just an old school piece. I'm going to move on. I've got to motor through some of these. This is gorgeous. What a nice looking watch. How's this? Estimate between 2 and 3K, and it sells for 17. This with a Chinese triple calendar. That's something unique. And I do really enjoy the lugs and the way the dial and the case and everything's been presented here. Very clean. It seems like there is a good relationship between the parts on this model. Looks great. It really does look nice. And yeah, as Brummy says, looks nice. It does. It really does look good. And they will look at how they lowball us between 2 and 3, and it goes for 17.5. I laugh. I laugh at what they think is popular and what should be. But then we deal with this, and this. It's one of, I mean, again, like I said in the beginning, Omegas, some of the rarest watches that we'll be seeing on the show. 2998, proper. This is a Gen 1 CK 2998 tropical dial, phenomenal. One of my favorites. Between 25 and 45 was the estimate. I mean, talk about a low ball for that. This watch, easily, I would have estimated between 60 and 80 grand for this watch. No, they estimate between 25 and 45. It goes for 100. I mean, very reasonable. Not only does it come with original presentation box, the tropical dial is simply spectacular, flawless tropical dial. So again, I laugh at the current state of affairs when you can see something like this not go for, I mean, 100 grand. That's pretty impressive for this model. This is a very impressive model in the family, as many of us know. And yeah, love it. Saying the tachymeter bezel, tachymeter bezel, who is writing these descriptions? And no, it's hilarious. We spoke about it often. The people who write these descriptions, whoever it is, I don't know if you've had too much coffee or something, but you go a little bit overboard. The way you can tell that this is a Gen 1 is it has this loom plot on the chronograph hand. Beautiful. I mean, we actually spoke about one of these at the beginning of the show. That would be my Grail watch, as Brummy says. Yeah, for sure. Lollipop hand. Absolutely gorgeous. Love it. The dial is phenomenal. Moving on. 94. Vintage Longines from 58. Between 25 and 45, and it went for 47. Being a single pusher, Israeli Defense Force. So this has a bit of historical provenance. Also notice something else. I look at this bezel inside. It's actually a compressor style bezel, and it looks like a Weems bezel. So this could be something that is quite, period correct. Maybe this was taken straight off the Weems Longines and Omega pieces from the 40s. Pretty amazing. And your artifact says, look at the onion crown. Yeah, really something. Interesting. The Weems bezel is what catches my attention the most, though. If you don't know what that is, look it up on Google. You'll see quite a nice background there. Moving to 95. Oh, come on. Okay. Megan, I need more coffee. If we have another 106 watches, you're telling me, sis, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I barely have any coffee left, and I can't leave my station. This is literally a double shot. I don't know how I'm going to cope. I've got a bit of alcohol left I might hit. So, I mean, Tourneck Ravel, watch my Watches of Vietnam video. You'll understand just how rare these pieces are. We saw a Blancpain very earlier sell for like 50 or something, and it was ridiculous. This example deserves the price it went for. It's one of the rarest 50 fathom pieces out there. Great history. I'll link the Vietnam video in the corner of the screen if you'd like to watch it. Look at the condition of this piece. Absolutely sublime. Radioactive. Yeah, great story behind this model too, and just how they had to like bastardize the dials to make them saleable in the US, given to the Navy mainly in very short numbers between 1966, early 60s and mid 60s. Jimmy, almost halfway there. What am I going to do? I'm really struggling here. I'm going to have to do something about this. Have some fresh espresso now. No, thanks, Clive. That's really very helpful. I'll find the strength to finish the list at the bottom of the whiskey glass. Thank you, Shaitan. And Jimmy, thank you for the super chat again. Everyone who is donating, thank you. So, Tourneck Ravel, beautiful watch. It's one of my favorites. We talk about Blancpain and everything. I mean, MB&F Spider, we talked about robots earlier. We can skip through this piece. This is not a watch, it's a wall clock. It's pretty cool, but hey. Resins, I mean, people love these. And the 2012 model, they've done quite a few improvements with the resins line lately. And as you know, the whole dial rotates between 5 and 8 it goes for, and it went for 20, which is pretty hilarious. I don't understand how they can be so unpredictable with their estimates. Maybe they just don't care. No cracking on the bezel, Matthew says. I mean, incredible example, absolutely incredible. Yeah, so resonance we can move through, and I need to just remind myself, lot 124 is the next blank spot. Another Jaune, a blackened aluminium limited edition, between 15 and 25, and it sells for 37. I've seen a few of these on Watchbox lately, and I must say it's quite nice, not bad. Very sporty, which is something special. Jean Lacey's participation in the Indianapolis 500. Okay, so the Indy 500, Jean Lacey is a Formula One driver. Lots of Formula One drivers hop over to the States when they get kicked out of their teams or they decide to leave. And I'm sure he wanted to just, most racing drivers want to do all the races. So the Indy 500 is one of them. Okay, finishing the last of my coffee. I'm quite sad. Not bad. Moving on to 99. Laurent Ferrier with my favorite IDGuy hands. And this is relatively new, 2015, between 25 and 45, and it sells at 35, right in the middle. And I think Megan was happy to see the Blancpain or the Tourneck Ravel. Beautiful. So if I get an aluminium Jaune, I want it to look like aluminium. That's another thing. I'm a huge, what's the word? I've been doing this show for 2 hours. I'm someone who really appreciates watches that have they represent their finish, their material well. PVD coatings for me just doesn't do it. I think when you're dealing with something like steel with white gold, rose gold, you want that material expressed on the watch itself. Ceramic, on the other hand, go to town. Black ceramic, gray ceramic, fun. It's pronounced low rent Ferrier. Thank you, Shitan. So yeah, I really enjoy this piece. I think Laurent takes quite a bold step with the way he approaches his pieces. Aggressive, just reminds me of a kudu, actually. When I think of game in South Africa, I think kudu. Not only are these spears pretty much synonymous and linked with many Southern African tribes, assegai, spearhead, but just the way the actual batons have been arranged, the case itself, very animal inspired in a way. Great. Moving to 100. Yes. Okay, we're getting through, and we can just motor through these. This is a Singer watch, Singer reimagined. Jamie, thank you for the super chat. It is really appreciated. It's all of you who are donating. It's so great. It keeps me going, keeps me rolling. Okay, so Singer Porsche. I'm sure most of you know the brand. It's basically a house that makes gorgeous reimaginings of the vintage Porsches from the 70s. They take a couple of parts, mix them together. This being Singer branded, I'm pretty sure they have some kind of partnership there. Nice looking movement. I don't know anything about the piece and what it is exactly. But yeah, I've got to motor through some of these. I do enjoy the highlights though, the orange and the black and how it's all balanced out nicely. Real racing, 60s racing inspired chronograph for sure. Lot 101, Jaune, another extremely rare Jaune. We looked at the resonance earlier. This being, I imagine, a precursor. Maybe it came out afterwards. The tourbillon. I mean, this really is Jaune to the T. What makes it special is it's platinum. They do lots of platinum though. Number 14 of 20. So this being, and he's actually labeled it at the top there. Cool looking piece. If you enjoy Jaune, this is really quintessential Jaune. I do enjoy the sub, the way the dial has been arranged to the side there. So Pilot starts saying it's the same movement as the Moser Streamliner. That's important to note. Thank you for that. Talking about the Singer Porsche, great to know the Singer piece. Clive saying the Horn identity. Jaune Identity is actually a name on Instagram. He's a great guy. He actually mentioned me in a Watchbox video, and he called me the IDGuy, which didn't get as much attention. If he just said IDGuy, I would have made a difference. His original year model. Thank you for that, Zane. So this is the first of the time, 1999. This is really when he started watchmaking, right? Between 150 and 300, and it went for 1.4. I mean, holy smokes. So it's really cool. These watches are great. We've spoken about them before. I'd like to do more discussions around the FP Jaune. 102. Oof. Ouch. Okay, this is something to take note of. Looking at this 5-digit reference, rare and well preserved. Come on, man, get with the program. This isn't rare. 1982. This watch looks like it's been exposed to a house fire. So estimate between 4,000 and 8,000. Talk about that as a low ball. And it went for 11.2. Saying rare. I mean, price looks fair enough. Pretty decent. I mean, really, that's what all Rolex watches should be going for, realistically. Even less. But I mean, geez, a rare and come on, man. It's a nipple dial GMT 16753 from 82. You can get these in such better condition than this. Looks like the hands have been redone too. Ouch. Yeah, we've got some much better examples coming up. Now, this, I think I joined. Okay, interestingly, we're coming to the very end of day one. So this was Saturday's show. This was today's show that's just been happening. Very soon after this, we'll be seeing that these next watches haven't been sold yet. The rest of the auction happens tomorrow, as of the 28th. The link to the Philips auction is in the description of this video, by the way. If you want to look at all the lots, just hit the more options a bit lower in the description box. So this, I actually watched the bidding for this model. 37 mil from 1994, between 12 and 24, and it goes for 35. I mean, nice combination. I must say it's very elegant for what it is, and extremely well preserved. See, I don't mention rare here. These are probably rarer than the Rolex models, you know. So Clive saying mine is a 1675. It's a lot prettier. Exactly. You know what I mean? Potentially, if its infrastructure can support the brand. Are we talking about independence? Okay, so moving to 104. I think we're getting quite close to the end of the auction. Eesh. Between 20 and 30, and this went for 75. Attractive diamond ruby set. It's to each their own. I don't really consider this very attractive. They could have made it a lot less gaudy. I mean, sometimes you can really approach diamonds well. This, to me, is way excessive for what it is. So let's move along. I mean, we're going to be sitting on these for so long anyway. And then we get back to the Daytonas. Between 25 and 50, it sells for 45. A rare and unusual and extremely attractive. Come on with these adjectives, people. Overall, 2001, pearl dial, which is quite nice. Should it go for 45 grand? Not at all. Really, I really don't think it deserves 45 grand. I mean, seriously, it doesn't even have a proper strap. I mean, the yellow is quite nice. Yeah, overall, I mean, white gold for 45 grand. It's not a Zenith. There's nothing. It's a modern piece. I don't know, man. Michael, thank you so much. First time attending live. I've been watching for a long talk. By far your favorite channel. Oh, Michael, thank you so much, really. And for the super chat, I cannot thank you enough. For all of you who have donated and for just being a part of the show and being part of the audience, it's an absolute treat and it's a pleasure doing this. I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Don't worry, we are going to get to some great pieces as the next half arrives. Very soon you'll see that the watches haven't sold yet. So between 35 and 55 for this, sells for 67. I do really like the way they did the baguettes in the bezel here. But overall, again, I mean, really, so it was mentioned 25 maybe from Brummy. That's a very good estimate. Talking about the last one, this too. This also deserves 25 maybe. These are diamonds done better. Very well said, Neferoin, botching your name. Great piece. I think the combination's quite nice. Would have been better if there were baguettes on the dial, you know, like how Patek addresses their baguettes, just simple batons that run through, but overall, not bad. To number 107, I need to remind myself of 124 because I'm going to botch it. I know I'm going to click the number. So this was between 100 and 200. I don't know if this is factory set. There was no mention. I was actually watching the live broadcast of this. There was no mention that it's factory set, so who knows? There's no box or papers that it comes with, but it sells for 2,875. Again, Nautilus Fever. I just don't get it. Another producer Michael watch for sure. Completely blinged out, nicely addressed. I think there is a way that they do their diamonds very well. The setting is pretty impressive, and these little stones in the center, I don't know what they are. Does it say? No, they don't. What would the blue gem be? I don't know. I'm off the top of my head. I'm pretty good when it comes to gems, but tonight, after diamonds are forever. It's funny. Okay, so moving on. 108. Okay, so now we have a Saru. I mean, this being in-house made, which is great. Between 40 and 80. guarantee and box. So I'm pretty sure this was the in-house. This is definitely the in-house reference. This hasn't been done outside. Sapphire, thank you for that, Russell and Freddie. So this between 40 and 80, and it goes for 125. I mean, there is something about this. It's pretty collectible. I do like how they've done this, how they've attacked it. It's subtle. From a distance, you wouldn't notice that it's gem set, but I mean, the complication is completely ruined. You can't use the GMT function. Also, don't like that the GMT master is in green. It should be in red because that's a Pepsi. No, that looks kind of good. Radio, I kind of agree. It does look pretty nice. I never thought I would say that. The Saru is pretty good. There's a few models. There's a few we actually chatted about in the past. Gorgeous leopard Daytona that's worth looking at as well. Not the one you're thinking of. The Rorschach inspired Daytona. So this, yeah, very elegant. I actually really enjoy the way they did this. Lot 109. Ooh, this is called the Octopussy. Would you believe? And as you can tell by the bracelets, okay, so let's just, between 150 and 250, it goes for 225. And they call it the Octopussy because the bracelet itself looks like, you know, octopus suckers, which is pretty funny. But again, it's just so gaudy. I mean, 1972, a little bit excessive. And Megan talking about the Saru. And Shane also mentioning piece to talk about. It is worth talking about. And Megan saying that in-house are nicely done. Yeah, for sure. So I think the Octopussy is a good name for this, talking about how the bracelet's been done. Anyway, let's move on. 110. Very rare, extremely attractive, yellow gold. Oof, you've got to get that emphasis in there. And then they say, I love it. They get the estimate between 15 and 25. If you're going to use very rare, you might want to maybe up your price a bit. And this hasn't been sold. How's that? So now we're getting to lot 110. We've now hit the models that haven't actually sold yet at auction. So this is pretty nice, but I mean, it's 2017. It's brand new. Why? You know, that's how I could express this model. Dear. Just refreshing my laptop to hope that I'm keeping up with everyone. Okay, so now we've officially reached the unsold territory, and now we can enjoy what else is on offer. Not bad. All gold, flamboyant, as mentioned in the chat. Okay, another Kermit. Interesting to see that the Kermit between 15 and 30,000 is the retail. I mean, that is ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Too monotonous, Michael says, talking about the gold for sure. I mean, it's very, I mean, that's a problem. We've looked at some Daytonas that have addressed this much better. This one color just ruins its effectiveness as something you can actually read the time and all the complications with. Flat 4 bezel Kermit. Okay, so we're talking about this insert here. Between 15 and 30, I just don't understand, man. And this watch has been used. You can see the bezel has been worn over time from 2004. This being the anniversary, the 50th anniversary, if I'm not wrong, of the sub, with presentation box and guarantee. Oh, I'm glad to know about that. Jeez. Imagine the fakers out there sending these watches in. Okay, not bad. Kermit, we know it pretty well. Moving to 112. From a 1999. Extremely rare. Platinum. That's interesting. And again, they use the words extremely rare, and they list the watch at between 5 and 10,000. Just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. What a Miss Piggy lookalike. That's funny, Brummy. That kind of lines up pretty well with, yeah, I can't say it's my favorite Omega. It looks like a lady's watch, really. 37 mils from 99. Not bad. Not really everyone's cup of tea, I'm sure. 113. This is a great piece. 5146, between 15 and 25. I'm pretty sure it would collect that amount. Nice complication. I really do enjoy how they've arranged the 369. I'm a sucker for numerals and batons on a dial. The way they've done the sub-dials is unique. Power reserve. There's a few people that wear this watch that I've seen recently, and it looks great. Really, the complication's nice. Stella, a guy. Megan, that's great. Yeah, moving on. We know this watch pretty well. We've discussed it before. And then we get to the John Mayer watch, the John Mayer Special from 2020. I mean, seriously. So this being between 20,000 and 40,000 as an estimate. And I can tell you that thanks to that Hodinkee video with John Mayer discussing these pieces, all of a sudden the blue dial white variant, the blue dial white gold and the green dial gold, all of a sudden the hype just goes through the roof. Yeah, so all in all, not bad. I must say, the way they've done the dial, they've addressed the gold very well. It doesn't look monotonous. That's important. It does have a nice emerald behind it, matching the Rolex brand. So if you want some green that resembles the emerald of Rolex, at the same time you want a gold trophy Daytona, this is the one for you. 2020, I mean, you can still buy these watches. They're not very special. Here's another example, 15202, being a jumbo. Between 15 and 25 is the estimate, and I guarantee this watch is going to go for something stupid like 80 grand, maybe 80 grand. And I mean, it's from 2014. It's by no means old, but I really do like this piece. I think the fact that these are still being made, 39 mil diameter, sweet spot. Gerald Genta made this watch this size for a reason back in the day, and more of these pieces should be like this. There is this golden ratio between the bracelet, case, dial, the AP logo at the base there. It's beautiful. The seconds not being there just adds to the dress watch effect. Zane's saying no, it'll probably sell in the 50s. You know, I think you should kind of like add 30 grand on top of every prediction that we have here, because as we've already seen, remember that this is going to be an early lot in tomorrow's auction. As we've already seen, the beginning of the show, the first 100, everyone just blew their loads on the modern pieces. I guarantee this watch is just going to sell for a stupid price. Who knows? You can never really tell. Gorgeous looking watch though. Geez, here we go. What do we say here? A very rare and exceedingly well preserved. Come on. Seriously, 1990. Who is doing the naming of these things? Come on, man. Between 6,000 and 12,000. It's a 1990s GMT 1600, nothing that special. It's a tritium dial, which is nice, but overall tritium hasn't faded. Very rare and extremely, come on, people. They're all very rare. I mean, it's a joke. It really is a joke. It really is. So yeah, we've looked at these watches often enough. There's really nothing special about this piece apart from its condition, which is pretty good. Moving on, IWC Rattrapant, quite nice, from 2017. Estimate between 15 and 25,000. It comes with a guarantee and box. It's important to know. 41 mils. This is a Portuguese, right? This sure looks like a Portuguese. Somehow I don't think this watch will fetch. They'll probably fetch about 25 at a push. You know, as most of us know, IWC as a brand is really losing its grind nowadays. But yeah, it's Clive leaving us. Clive, it's good to have you here, sir. Great to have you. Always a pleasure. You always bring a lot of fun into the shows. Yeah, so moving on from IWC, we now have, okay, now this is cool. They've got a couple of these little baby Aquanauts. 2005, 37 millimeter. I can honestly say I haven't seen many. A radio saying that 100 is very rare. Very rare is thrown around a bit too much here, I believe. So a possibly unique stainless steel. I mean, geez, start with the adverb. That's great. That's really great marketing. So yeah, I've actually worn one of these baby Aquanauts in the past, and they really do feel like swatches on the wrist. Sorry to tell you, it really, I mean, the wearability factor, it's the funniest thing. Between 30 and 60, and we move across now, there's also a red one. I really like the burgundy. That is nice. Going to leave this here for a second. We're doing pretty well. We're now running 2.5 hours in, and the show will probably be going on for another hour. We're doing good. We're actually doing pretty well with the time. Talking about brands and everything else here, I'm glad I'm not a part of the these 605 blue and red may go past 100K, Zane, because I've never seen these colors before. I think they also brought out a green and a yellow back in the day. I've seen a couple on Instagram, social media. I really enjoy this burgundy though. What a nice finish. Let's have a good look at another angle. There's a very specific, I think they call it a 5077, which is a yellow gold variant of this piece, and I really like it. You know, honestly, if I was going Patek, I might jump on a 37 mil yellow gold Aquanaut of this time period, because I just love the way they've done the numerals here. They've got the date offset, it's out of the way, and you've got a full numeral package on the dial. It's really clean. So yeah, these could fetch quite a lot. They're unique. Catch up. Okay, moving to lot 120, and I should remember 124. 124, I must remind myself. If I click that number, I'm going to botch the web page. Okay, so yeah, overall, this piece, another example, gorgeous blue dial, really effective. You can see the tritium is starting to fade ever so slightly. But again, wearing these watches, I don't know if many of you have in the past, wearing this watch on the wrist, I got the swatch feel. Don't know why. It had an olive drab strap to it, which was really nice. I mean, it's a stunning looking piece, but it's just weightless. You just don't know you're wearing a watch, and it's pretty sad. You know, you want something with a bit of presence when you're wearing a watch. You know what I mean? My OCD, that's another thing. I mean, if only there wasn't a date complication, I'd be so much happier. But I just love the cleanliness. Okay, moving through. Also think that this watch is very much inspired by field watches. Small point. It's nice. 121. Oof. Now we're talking. 5060J. This is a model that I would jump on. Something like this I really like. So we're going to carry on down. Pilot Style said there's a macro shot video by Hafiz that downright exposes the Aquanaut for its terrible build quality, unworthy of Patek. Really, Pilot Style. Thank you for that. Hafiz does have a YouTube channel. I don't know the name of it. It is Hafiz. I know that as maybe it's Hafiz Reviews, but he does have a few amazing pieces that you should look at. All in all, so this piece in general, this reminds me of a very rare Nautilus that came out. Is this a Nautilus? No, it's not. This is an Aquanaut. I can't tell. 5060J. Would this be? This is an Aquanaut. So it's an Aquanaut, but there's also a Nautilus very similar to this model. Looks nice. Really does. I do enjoy the Romans, and I made a video about a watch similar to this because it manages to ride the line. It really gives the finger to the sports watch in a way. You know, it's very much presenting itself as a sports watch, but at the same time, with the Romans, it's a dress piece. It's a nice clash of elements that I think is pretty unique. 122. So remember, 124 will crash the web page. 5960P, circa 2008. We've had a look. I love the black dial over the silver. Silver, not too much, not as great. Between 30 and 50 is the estimate that this would go for. Gray dial, platinum annual calendar. Not bad, but still, I think the black on black just really, really adds a nice touch to this piece. It's a little bit too much in one package here for me. Okay, gonna keep up the chats, just having a great time. I buy expensive watch. I don't want people touching it. That's another thing. Looky here. Everyone's picking up their own pieces. Okay, so next to gold is a weird metal. Sure is. 123. Oof. 3970p. This is going to go for a hell of a lot of money. And now they're actually using the description box well. A very attractive and rare platinum perpetual. I can agree with that because it is. From 2002, 36 millimeter diameter. This is beautiful. Really is. There was mention about the red accents. Nick, I was about to say, when I was talking through it, I lost track. Kind of reminds me of America Cup in a way. You think of a yacht master almost. Or just a yachting regatta model. The red and blue really is striking there. It'd be nice if they did something similar with the date discs, actually. Okay, this is gorgeous. I mean, again, we had a look at a 1950s variant of this model earlier on. This does everything and more. I mean, for the real Patek collectors, this is something that really would tickle their fancy, I think, overall. It's nice. I'm sure Zane would agree that this is a stunning piece. If Russell is still in the chat, all of the guys would probably jump on these watches. Orlbach is a smooth talker. He should write the descriptions. And that's the thing. I mean, he manages to, again, it's because of him that these watches sell for such extraordinary prices. I'm sure he hypes them up a lot. This is an example of a watch that does deserve attention because it's everything. It's a full-on perpetual. It's got moon phases. It's a full-on chronograph. It does the whole deal. Stunning. Really is. And black dial, it's so elegant, you know. Moving on, 124, danger zone. Going to 125 next. Another day date. Highly rare, attractive. Come on. Got to say that about Rolex. They should mention the same with the steel pieces, you know, the modern steel watches that we've seen already. Imagine they said, you know, 2020, and they show us the Pepsi and say, highly rare and sought after. It's like, come on, man. 1969, great looking piece. And let's talk about finishes and qualities. Again, if you'd like to grab me in the chat, tag me. It seems like everyone's having conversations amongst themselves, which is awesome. French day wheel. It's pretty unique. This is from Jimmy. Yeah, not bad. Really not bad. Do like the bracelets. Remember, this is from 1969. It's held up really well. I mean, this is a barn find. Between 15 and 25 is the estimate for this watch. I'm sure it's going to really exceed that. And there's only one more lot that I need to worry about, and that's 213, which is also a blank zone. It'll crash the page. If I pay for gold, I want it to look like gold. That's, yeah, talking about materials expressing themselves, radio, I agree. An extremely rare and attractive, here we go again, 1998. So we have this, you know, what we call it, marble purple finish, lilac, whatever the color would be. Also diamond insets. Between 25 and 45, I'm sure it's going to land in and around that ballpark. But what is it? Is it white gold? Pretty sure it is. Did they mention it? No, I don't see they do. Who knows? Moving on to 127. Another one of these. It's incredible just how many of these watches are featured. Plum. That's a great name, Art. Thank you. And what is this? Would you call this kidney failure yellow? You know, dehydration yellow. Nice color. I'd love to see this on a car. Yellow gold calendar with a stellar dial again. Between 60 and 120 grand. I mean, really? Really for this? No bracelet or anything else? I just don't get it. Really don't. So if anyone is watching this and wants to jump on jaundice yellow, that's perfect. If anyone is watching this and wants to jump on Phillips's show tomorrow to pick up a piece that's going to be listed, now it's fantastic. Jaundice yellow. Very good thinking there. So this might be a good time for you to just have a real good judgmental time looking at these pieces and saying, really, why are they priced so high? Anyway, this is another example. I don't understand why you would price. What's this? Between 15 and 25. Here's another example. A rare and attractive white gold calendar. I mean, really? Is it that rare, really? So black dial, black lacquer dial. That's quite nice. Date just, simple, clean. Between 15 and 25 is the expectation. But again, they use the word rare like it's going out of fashion. And it clearly has gone out of fashion that they use it so much. You know what I mean? It is nice, though. When it comes to date justs, as Brummy says, when it comes to date justs, there's nothing really better than batons. Just a simple, basic layout with the date expressed that you can read it easily. Nice stick hands, as Thomas says. And then we have Arab dials, this being the Sultanate of Oman, retailed by Asprey. Never heard of that company before. It's an 1802. Nothing special. It just has an insignia. Between 20 and 40 is the estimate. And this is stainless steel. No, it's white gold. That's quite nice. But again, I mean, what are these prices? 1973. We know that Arab dials are very, very sought after. And then they do have some amazing ones. I mean, the stories behind them and everything else. But yeah, I'm going to carry on through to 130. A true beat. Get out of town. That is awesome. I've never seen this before. This is something to look at. Megan's talking about she wants sparkling water with a squeeze of lime. Don't we all? I've still got dregs of coffee to finish. But we're motoring. We're doing pretty well. We're now, 2 hours and 37-ish minutes in. And we have 70 freaking watches to go. So a true beat seconds for a Rolex. I've never... Someone might need to check that it's not a quartz movement. It's good that they actually showed us the movement. That's important. True beat basically means that it runs like a quartz watch. They say dead beat. So essentially, it runs like a quartz, but it's a mechanical piece. The only one that many of us know about nowadays is the JLC. JLC does a true beat. Pretty amazing. I've never seen a true beat with Rolex before. Great piece. And they say estimate between 12 and 18. That is a joke, underplayed. Someone mentioning in the chat, it's going to go for 100 grand, pilot style. It definitely is going to sell for a lot. I mean, that is amazing. Not just the complication, but in a Rolex, so unique and rare. I didn't know Rolex made a dead beat. Me too, Nick. I think many of us. Great. I really like this. That kind of stuff that you want to see at auction, you know? Drink any more coffee and you're going to turn into a cornholio. Thanks for that, Chip. I'll have to look it up later. Definitely can't while I'm running the show, but probably sounds pretty rough. Okay, 1665, inside case back stamped. What is that, a 4? I'm so bad with Roman numerals. Mark II tropical dial bracelet. And they never say very rare, but I mean, hell, why not? You use rare with everything else. So overall, I think what's nice about this piece is the way that the bezel and the dial has faded pretty evenly. Nice. Double print, so it is a very early model of the Sea Dweller. And notice it says Sea Dweller Submariner 2000. That's what makes it pretty special. Is it patent pending? Gas escape valve patent. I imagine it's just come afterwards. From 1967. Not bad. This watch has definitely been worn in its life with a rivet bracelet. That's all period correct. Notice that it says Submariner 2000. That's the important thing. Not sure about the ghosting, Eric Bell. Doesn't look that nice. It's okay. But I mean, again, patinas to each their own. Anyway, number 2132 next. Okay, I have handled one of these before. 6265, not a Sigma dial, 1982. Between 40 and 80,000 it's going to go for. I'm sure it'll reach that mark. But this is definitely not the best condition one we've seen. That's another sad thing, is that I feel sorry for people who spend so much on these pieces and they aren't immaculate. I would never, ever, ever sell a watch or buy a watch like this if it's not immaculate. It has a gas escape valve. Yes, it does, Nick. This really was what's interesting. Let's go back to it one more time. This was, I think, just after they had received the patent for this model. So it's a very, very early Sea Dweller. With the Submariner 2000, the double line, it's one of the first, if I'm not wrong. I'm remembering back to my old learning histories. Okay, so yeah, not bad. Pretty good looking piece. It doesn't look like it's been polished. The condition's okay though. And we're going to move to 133. Oh, yes. This is the kind of stuff we want to see. And catching up with the chat, everyone's put the Daytona on a NATO. Is that a big red? Shaitan asks. Do they specify? I think they would. I think this is what they would call a big red. If I'm not wrong, the big red normally comes in black. I don't know. Or they call this a big eye. This could be the big eye variant. I don't know. They don't seem very big with their nomenclature. They do say Explorer here. Beautiful. 5513. I mean, this is one of the rarest out there. This is going to jump in price. Yeah. Looks like there's lots of debate going on about tuning fork movements and everything else, deadbeats and all that. Shane, have to check out of this hotel. Welcome and thank you for joining. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, Shane. You're great. It's great that you're able to, comment with everyone else. And it must be so early in New Zealand as well. You guys wake up at like 5 in the morning to watch these, and I can't thank you enough. So 5513, this being one of the first, very early. And Rolex at the time, they were throwing dials and bezels and everything around. So somehow the 5513 adopted, in this example, an Explorer dial that's underlined, small detail, which is important. And it's just clean, it's clear, looks great. The bracelet looks period correct. The dial itself, the condition looks pretty nice overall. 63, that corresponds with the production date, 1963. Between 100 and 200, they're expecting this to go for. I think it'll smash it. I'm thinking it'll go 400. And this is the kind of watch that should be sold off for quite a good price because these are exceptionally rare. And I mean, the whole idea of saying rare and attractive in this listing, you've used it so many times already, Mr. Lister, that I think it kind of ruins its punch. This is most definitely a rare and attractive model. Thomas, thank you for the super chat. I need to email you again. I think you sent me a recent email, Thomas, that I need to get back to. Anyway, nice looking piece. I do enjoy the Explorer dial. We've seen one earlier. This will definitely go between 350 and 400, I think, just with regards to its provenance and history. This, on the other hand, is pretty awesome. Being another pre-Daytona on a proper bracelet, 6234 from 1958, between 250 and 500, this is expected to go for. And yeah, this is quite nice. I kind of enjoy this. Condition is as good as it could be for its age, I guess. David Crystal, the second, can get that buffed out. But overall, nice looking piece. Definitely screams a watch of its time. Pre-Daytona, yeah. Telemeter bezel inside, so he's still rocking the World War II inspired inserts and layouts. 35 millimeters, it's tiny, but not bad. Condition's pretty good. Pre-Daytonas seem to really be catching on now, especially. It's almost like the standard Daytonas, the later 4 digits and the modern ones are getting so sought after that now people are jumping on the earlier models. Maybe these have always been collectible. I don't know so much. Okay, the 135. Okay, so here we go with You can just imagine Aurel like really chomping at the bit. The Paul Newman, we got to talk about this for days and days. I sold Paul Newman's Paul Newman and the Paul Newman. I hear that. Ugh. One thing I can't stand is the double repeat, the Paul Newman. I think to myself, come on, man. Just say Paul Newman's Daytona. That's it. Got it. 6241, rare and highly attractive. We know. Thank you for that. You've mentioned that so many times already. Great condition, though, for what it is. Notice the bracelet's in good nick. It looks like it's been nicked a bit on the bezel. Dial condition looks sublime. Pretty decent. You know that the price of this, I mean, it's being asked 120 to 240. Yeah, it's going to jump. It's going to get really high. Michael saying, looks like the first Omega in space. It really does. That's kind of why I like the CK 2998s, those limited edition models, banking on the inspirations that made this piece unique. There's another Paul Newman's watch out there. There is. I mean, he had a 6263 black dial, and he wore it for a lot of. It's actually on the cover of A Man and His Watch. I think that's the reference. Yeah, nice looking piece. It really is stunning. But again, it's just the way this watch has been hyped. It does have significance, though. We've spoken about it often on this channel before. These watches aren't in great condition. Megan, I mean, I agree. There's for prices like this, 120 to 240, you want these things to be immaculate. I mean, you're dealing with, these are seriously collectible, but at the same time, really. 136, there are a few more. We got a few more pre-Daytonas. Brummy saying ID Tribe, cool people. Yeah, nice audience. What I like is that we're very well-rounded. There's lots of people who appreciate the Daytonas and the Rolexes and everything else, but we can also appreciate the simpler stuff like the vintage, and it's great. I like the fact that this channel is directed to as many people as possible, and I try to reach, talking about design, I try to reach as many. Now, speaking of this model, I think Cam from Craft and Tailored had a very similar, he actually featured this on his show. This is also another pre-Daytona, between 20 and 40,000 they want this to sell for. This is going to sell for much more than that, let's be real. Not bad. Silver dial, 1963. This condition is pretty special. It doesn't look like it's been worn very much in its life. Amazing. And you compare the condition to this, the condition of this next to the Paul Newman that we just saw. Or a bucks. Crispy case, never polished. You know, you just know he's going to milk it. Oof, oof, oof. Now we're talking. Okay, just hitting the coffee one more time. Right, 1958, 6538. The real piece that's inspired the Tudor Black Bay, 58. Big crown, James Bond. You just know Oral Bucks is going to just be rolling on this. It's the James Bond watch featured in Goldfinger. And so we have a rivet bracelet. It looks pretty good. The condition's nice. Those hands have been replaced. 200 to 400 estimated, and it's going to be 500, I'm pretty sure. Nice Black Bay 58, Nick says, yeah. But I do like the bracelets. Look, bracelet doesn't even look original. It looks too new. But those hands definitely have been fiddled with, sadly. Overall, yeah, it's difficult. When you see a dial like this, you can see this watch has been used over time. 37.5. This really is the golden child that started the Submariner. This was the first reference that pushed it to 200 meters for depth rating. Not bad, not bad. And I also like the little highlights, like the red triangle. It's pretty unique. Okay. Going to carry on through. It's a great looking watch. I mean, who are we kidding? 1938. Oh, okay. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorites in the line. No one talks about this watch at all. Look up the video, the Einstein Rolex on Google. It should be there. And I talk about how the Milgauss evolved over time. The reference 1019, an extremely rare. Please stop using those words. The 1019 is very rare, though. And black dial especially, oof, it's stunning. So it's essentially a 1016 that has a standardized Oyster Perpetual dial, but it's just so well executed. The red Milgauss, the red arrow tip, the minute track is superb. The condition is also pretty decent, and it's the estimate between 30 and 50. I'd imagine this is probably going to go for like 60 plus. Yeah. This Milgauss, as mentioned, I think Radio has looked at the listing. He mentioned earlier that he likes the Milgauss. Yeah, it's a great looking piece. I really enjoy it. The black on red, the use of tritium. It's one of the most underrated Rolexes out there. Place an advanced bid, Jimmy. Can't say I could place an advanced bid for 30K. I'm looking for a house at the moment. I definitely cannot put money down for watches. Okay, I'm going to carry on through to 139. De Bethune. First time we've seen this. Circa 2015. Please don't say rare. Oh my God. Again, very rare and technically zirconium. Nice finish. But aren't most of their watches zirconium? Don't know. Would love to find a 1019 at a right price. Megan, I'm there with you. Really try and look. Try and find something. I'm pretty sure there's still sleepers, but looks like dealers are really getting a hold of them nowadays. So De Bethune, another watch that another brand that Watchbox loves to sell. They seem to be advertising them a lot. Interesting piece. I do enjoy the articulating and lugs on these models, how they conform to the wrist. Being a zirconium case is pretty unique. 6-day power reserve, pretty special. But yeah, I mean, it's so polarizing as a watch. It's not something that everyone can enjoy for sure. It looks like Lego Technic for me. Let's see what Pilot Style says. De Bethune is the unsung hero. They've always been 10-10 quality, 10 out of 10 rarity, and no one cares. That's the thing. I love that. That line, no one cares. It's like, it's just a kick to the gut. I do really enjoy when they actually fully, was it anodized? When they anodize the cases completely in the blue or whatever else. And just small things like the crown being at the 12 where it's out of the way. Articulating lugs, very technical. Feels engineered, you know what I mean? Megan's saying that Dad got a new DB28, very cool strap monster. What I do like is that it's almost like it's marrying the vintage with the retro and the modern. When you see it on the leather strap, it's kind of, it clashes in a way. Reminds me of the Milli Miglia sort of. Nice. Moving on, 140. MBMF. Okay. Technically and aesthetically impressive. Okay, so now we're jumping away from rare. Clearly that's been used too much and someone's been told off. 44 millimeter diameter, between 40 and 60K this is going for. And this is like a flying tourbillon, you would call it, hey? Or just a flying balance, suspended, okay. Suspended balance. That's pretty unique. Just sits right above the movement itself, the dial. Nicely finished. MBMF is another brand that deserves a lot, extremely rare. It deserves a lot more attention, I think. Their watchmaking is pretty special, but it is a very common watch. As I mentioned, 2017. I mean, seriously, I do enjoy the floating balance, though. It's quite unique. Okay, moving on. 141. I'm going to butcher this name. Vutelainen. Unique and superbly decorated white gold. Come on, man. 2016, so I'm pretty sure these watches are still, but engraved, enameled case back. That's unique. Enamel dial. Not for everyone's tastes. It reminds me of a modern take on a Breguet in many ways. The Breguet hands, you can see it's inspired by those elements. Very pocket watch inspired. It's got an up-down power reserve. That's not very useful. The up-down says a quarter, a half, 3/4. As in, it doesn't actually tell you the actual hours that you're looking at. It's just telling you that it's half full, a quarter full, 3/4. It's funny. Not bad. Pretty cool looking piece, but between 50 and 100,000, really. That's quite an expectation. Bearing in mind that this watch is from 2016. Do like the blue. It does have a nice combination between the red, I must say. They do blend very nicely together. Okay, 142. Harry Winston. Oh my goodness. And Flip and Zippo has just joined us. Thank you for joining, Flip and Zippo. Great to have you here. We've had a good time over the last how long? Almost 3 hours at this point. And who knows? I'm going to try and motor through some of these pieces because incredibly rare. Here we go again. 2013, between 60 and 120. I don't know, what is it? A jump hour of some kind. Let's see what else it does. Digital display of time. Okay. Not bad. So how would you read it? Let's see if we can try and make it out. 18, 02, 32. I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat can highlight. And Zane saying Carl Vutelainen only makes approximately 50 pieces a year. Average cost is between. So he's very, bespoke. That's good to know. Thank you, Zane. It's good for everyone to know. So this piece here, very bespoke, and he only makes a few. So I'd imagine he has a small team and he really focuses on the detailing. All of these movements in-house made. I didn't look at the case back. That's amazing. The case back is more impressive than the watch itself, I think. That is incredible. Anyway, I've got a motor through these. Ugly watch, people say. I agree with you. It really is. Looks like someone really made a mistake on the CAD machine. A Vinay halter from 2018. Very attractive, limited edition stainless steel. Stainless steel between 15 and 25. I mean, it looks like it's taking lots of inspiration from pocket watch wristlets of the time. Someone's got some kind of engraving of a Braille script around the inside here. All of these movements in-house made, which is pretty special. The sapphire rotor. Interesting. How do we see that? Where do we see a rotor here that's sapphire? I can't say that I can see anything. Maybe it's translucent and we can't see it at all. Who knows? Nice looking piece. Pretty old school. Very attractive, as Eric says. It's another ugly duckling. It's kind of, gilding the lily a bit. Okay, to 144. Oy. Wow, you can tell that this is the second set of pieces coming up. So Zane's saying, IDGuy, he is the king of engine tone dials. Should take a look at his other dials later. Thank you, Zane. We should. I mean, what I love about these live shows that we can always jump back and have a look at them. A futuristic, come on, man. From the 1970s, this looks like a real cuff wrist piece. Not bad. But come on, man. I mean, really, between 500 and 1,000. I'm surprised I don't say very rare in this one as well. We're all just really taking the mickey out of this. It's a JLC. Didn't realize. Designed by Pierre Cardin. Okay, not bad. 145. Oh, geez. 1970. This looks like a lady's piece. We can probably motor through these. This looks like, who worn this? Wood bracelet. It's unique. With original advertising. That's funny. I mean, this looks like an air hostess. It's pretty amazing back in the day. Okay, we're gonna run through some of these because there are clearly some that, yeah. Cartier, highly rare. Come on, man, get with the program. 1978, gold, between 8 and 12,000. Not bad. I do like the case though. It has that blend of ellipse, but also tank. Cartier and their dials, they're so unique. This being Paris. I think Paris being one of the most collectible, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe it's New York. Paris is generally one of the most sought after. It uses a Le Coutre movement, if I'm not wrong as well. You can correct me there. But yeah, pretty gorgeous. I wouldn't say highly rare though, please. Oversized at 34.5 mils. Hey, okay, gonna move on through 147. Ugh. So we have a rare and attractive 39 mils from 1995, between 6 and 12,000. I do like these. They remind me of the Cintre in a way. I'm not saying it's my favorite in the line. They call it a tonneau shape. Okay, that's fair. It's a tonneau shape case. Looks like a belt buckle. Oh, I love it. The comments. I'm sorry that I can't actually reach out to the comments and meet you all while I'm doing this. Looks like we reached the belt, the ugly zone, and yeah, it's great. 1910 vibes. Yeah, but this was made in 95. It's funny. So now we're dealing with a rare, large, exceptionally blah, 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 a 570. This is quite a unique model, actually. I really enjoy it. This keeps to the traditional, original Calatrava styling, 1962, back to reality, Kukuru says. It's pretty great. It's between 15 and 25. I'm pretty sure it's going to smash that. It'll probably be 30 plus. Looks great. I'm sure one of the owners is wearing it here. And presented center seconds to Kodamu Yoshio, case back inscription. Okay, so this watch was obviously a gift, some kind of retirement gift maybe. Nice, really nice. But again, they use, it's so rare, it's so unique. Several current Patek lines look exactly the same. Shaitan saying, yeah, rare, attractive, premium, deluxe, gourmet, organic, vegan. You might as well just go full hog, Here's another one, an unusual, large, very rare. Stop it, stop it. What is with these descriptions, people? I hope I'm not the only one who's just getting so sick of them. So from 1991, I do like the ellipse as influence here. Between 12 and 22,000, not bad. Overall, pretty nice. I also enjoy where the strap's been integrated underneath the case. It's like a crash, but it's almost as if someone left the tank in the sun or in their car for a day, and the gold just warped to the cup holder that it was in. It's pretty funny. But it's also thin, as mentioned. Yeah, I mean, it is gorgeous. Cartier with their thin movements. I don't know if it probably isn't quartz. I hope it's not. Be nice if they also mentioned the movements in this little description. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, it's kind of what the enthusiasts want to see. Number 144 of 400 limited edition pieces. Yeah, get over it. Next, 150, another rare and attractive. This is a cintre, if I'm not wrong. This case styling is what they call a cintre, and not bad. I really like this. This, or is it an American? No? Is it a Tank American or is it a cintre? Do they even specify? No. Between 30 and 60 from 1968. There's a great video done by Goldberger and Waco of Revolution. Look it up. Cartier Tank Cintre of John Goldberger in Google or whatever else. He has a full collection of these and they are pretty spectacular. Anyway, moving through 50 more pieces and we've got another hour to spare. It's going to be a 3.5 hour show, pretty sure. Have you any well done, medium rare? I mean, that's it, Brummy. They should rate them like steaks. Well done, medium rare, you know, simple, basic, raw, and extremely fine yellow gold. Okay, seriously, this word should be banned. Philips should not use this word anymore on their page. I mean, strike it off. If anyone is representing Philips watching this, please be a bit more specific with your descriptions. Your adjectives are overly done. You've got an adjective and then an adverb afterwards. It's too much. Beautiful though, 1955, gorgeous, this 2526. I'm pretty sure this is one of like the real establishing Calatravas from back in the day. The Calatrava was brought out in the 30s, no? And this definitely pays tribute to that. And notice how there's always a 6 ending at this point. You know that the 5196 is the modern rendition, the 2526 being similar. Gorgeous movement. I mean, look at that engine turning there. Stunning, really looks great. Of course, it's a Geneva seal from back then. And overall, this is probably one of the most contemporary Calatravas we've seen because it looks so much like a 5196 if you didn't, if you didn't look at it long enough. Okay, 152. And now we're dealing with more hyper, extremely rare, super well done. Shaitan saying, well done, medium rare, raw, uncut, ketogenic, premium, deluxe gourmet, Patek Philippe vinyl pouch. 1955. Not bad piece. We've already had a look at similar models. I think we've seen better in this line already as of right now. Between 60 and 100 is the expected price it'll go for. I'm pretty sure it'll reach that number because it has all the paperwork and everything linked to it, which is cool. But overall, I mean, we've seen a great few platinum variants of these earlier. Again, every single model. I mean, watch, they have a Casio in a second, and it's also rare. It's comical, actually. It kind of cheapens it, wouldn't you say? I mean, really, it cheapens the description of these things because some of them are spectacular. That IWC enamel that we saw, that's spectacular. Calling it rare, it just makes everything else just seem so general. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, 2428 between 40 and 70,000. This is definitely not up everyone's alley. From 1949, again, it's a medium rare and uncut. You know, ketogenic. It's still bloody in the center. Copy and paste. I mean, geez, that's it. You know, 154. Beautiful. This is stunning. This really is spectacular. So this is a full perpetual calendar. I love the case. This feels like Goldberger's watch. I feel like this is the exact reference that John Goldberger has. A 3450. And again, I mean, copy paste of all these descriptions. 1985, between 150 and 250, they expect this piece to go for. I really like it. Of all the, you know, the dress pieces in the line, I think there's something quite special about these models because they're just so underrated. Also has a German calendar box. So for all of you Germans out there, if you like one of these pieces, go for it. Okay, that BA in marketing has paid off. Chi-Town, genius. That's such a good comment. Oof, now we're dealing with something good. An extremely rare, nice, highly important. God. Okay, so we're talking between 1 million and 2 million for this, and it's acceptable because this is from 1957, people. Look at that. I want a rare just. It's talking about rare justs. That's pretty good. Everything is rare appears disingenuous, Eric Bell, for sure. I mean, it's almost like they're just gilding the lily so much. This, on the other hand, though, is something cool. From 1957, the year of my dad's birth, actually. Impressive. So it has everything. As we've already seen, it has the full layout, chronograph, perpetual calendar. remember, this is from 1957, and this watch still looks just as modern as it does today, which is pretty impressive. And you can tell little details like the stepping on the lugs. That's really what made it so period correct and everything. Raretique, that's funny. 156, another example. And look at that description, between 35 and 55,000 for this, 1942. Amazing. We've had a look at a few of these already. I feel like this is a repeat. This one does have a salmon dial, they should say, not pink. I say pink dial. I should call it a salmon dial. I'm pretty sure that this is going to be picked up pretty easily, and this estimate is so undervalued. Let's be honest, this is going to go for between 80 and 100, really. Salmon dial, Patek Philippe from 1942, pretty impressive. Moving on, 157. Okay, now this really is probably one of the most highly important, very impressive, and extremely, God, it's eye-rolling. It's just eye-rolling. 1951. Now this does it all. This is really quite special. From Rolex, being a full calendar. We've seen these featured before in the past, but the one sad thing about it is that the dial condition should be a lot nicer. It looks quite rough. But overall, you're dealing with a full calendar, you know, date just, but it's not a date just. It's an oyster case with the full Jubilee bracelet. Pretty gorgeous. Brummy's saying it's not rare. Is that so? I thought these watches were extremely, extremely rare. But yeah, the BA in marketing, that's one of the best comments of the show. Salmon dials are well sought after. Yeah, for sure, Megan. Okay, hitting the last of my coffee. There are just a few drops left. You know what? I'm going to treat myself to another fisherman's friend. I've earned it. Nice looking piece. I really enjoy it. It's like a rough dial. Yeah, it is. Wrong brand. The dial does look like it's been like hammered, sadly. Normally these are beautiful white. There's a beautiful white finish. We've seen some much better condition models, and look at the price they estimated to go for, between 150 and 300. Come on. Oh, here we go, the rarest of rare. And look at this, they don't mention rare here. What are they playing at, people? 105.012. So this being 1968, a 321 movement. This is, if I'm not wrong, this is a moon watch. Please clarify. Brought to you by Fisherman's Friend. I should have a little like hallmark in the corner or something, you know? I'm so glad that we've reached Omega. I love Omega. I really do. This should be an example, an explanation as to why you should all love Omega as watches, because they don't overhype their stuff. It's very, I mean, apart from the Speedmaster, they tend to overdo it a lot. But this example, this is one of the very few Speedmasters we've seen. Please, can you tell me if this is a man on the moon? I have a feeling it might be. It's a dot over 90. It's a 321 movement. It's the real hallmark professional model. It's one of the first, if I'm not wrong. Everyone has, it's a speedy, everyone has this. Yeah, funny. Great condition. The original bracelets, as you can see. Let's see if there's anyone telling me otherwise. There's proper Speedmaster enthusiasts that I don't know on the chat. Still less than Ed White. And what's the estimation? Between 8 and 12,000. This watch is going to go for over 20, as I'm sure most of us know. But this is gorgeous. I mean, it has it looks like an applied Omega logo, which is something special. This is the real transition away from the CK2998 that we saw. This is the next step up. I'm like the marathon man of YouTube, Bud the Stud. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Love the movie. Dustin Hoffman. I'm not Jewish, though, so it doesn't really work. Okay, 159. We're carrying on through. Oof, a very attractive. And this is a B01. No, it's not. A 765. Great. So I'm pretty sure that the B01 and the 765 are in the same bracket. I don't know. Another very rare, well-preserved, rare, attractive, nice-looking piece, though. I mean, we've discussed this at length. I think I made a video about the modern recreation of this next to the Longines Big Eye. No, it wasn't this. It was the 806 that I did look at. From 1967, 42 mil, between 8 and 12,000. I mean, you really are underplaying these watches. These are actually pretty special. I mean, yeah, some saying I would wear that. I mean, for sure. These are actually very special because they do have an amazing history. You'd probably find that this was issued to someone And for its time, it's oversized. It's 42 mils. It's great. You can wear this and enjoy it. And it's so legible too. Small details like the lume inside the subdial here. So you could actually read the chronograph in the dark. It's nice. Cool, as Brahmi says. Nice piece. Moving on, 160. Here we go again. A rare and attractive here, let's just get right down to brass tacks. 1966, 1675. Okay, looks all original. Chronometer, paper, pre-presentation box. That's good to know. Original hang tag, invoice. Great. That all adds to it, sure. The watch, the case condition looks good. This looks unpolished, which is important. Nice. Bezel looks pretty good. The dial hasn't been replaced. Nothing looks like it's been tampered with here. This is a great example of a 1675. The actual bracelet itself is nice and clean. This is going to go for more than 50, I would say. Bezel has too much fade, Brummy. And I mean, that's the thing. This watch clearly has been worn over time. But if you notice, it looks like the chamfers are pretty sharp. The whole crown guard is nice and clean. It's all very symmetrical. You can see there's a few dings on the underside if you're looking close enough to the screen. Not bad. But the fact that it has full papers and box and everything else, it's nice. So many rare. I can't stand this. Is the 1675 rare? Not at all. Let's be real. Ooh, now we're talking about an actual rare. Like a very rare and unusual. Thank you. 1967 Ultraman, they should have in quotations. This being Japanese domestic market. I'm pretty sure you've got these in Hong Kong as well. I think there's stories about people buying them in Hong Kong. So this piece has now become the ultra collector watch, as overhyped by everyone. And really, it's just an orange seconds hand on a professional that's made it so sought after. And there really are only like 600 of them in the world. So this is rare. This should be specified as something rare. You don't generally see these very often at auction and everything else. And if it was me, I would just pick up the limited edition Ultraman. But nice. I mean, the condition's pretty good. The case looks pretty sharp. Dial looks fantastic. Overall, not bad. Let me try and catch up with you in the chats. I've been trying my best. Megan's saying, yes, that is a good 1675, but the bezel's not quite right. Talking about the fade, or are we talking about the time period? Interesting. I like the orange seconds hand. Yeah, it is. And it's a good example, as Jimmy says. Again, the rarest watches we've seen so far are these pieces. Well, Megan, if you'd like this piece, it's going between 20 and 30. The auction is starting at like 2 o'clock tomorrow, I think. So around 3 o'clock your time. And I mean, this is a watch that you could probably jump on. You know, what does it have? It has a box, comes with a box. And I mean, it's pretty sought after for what it is. Unique. I like the condition of it. Nice and clean. Oh dear, here we go again. So this is just your standard Zenith Daytona, an early and very rare, come on, floating cosmograph dial. Ooh, so there's something special. I mean, that's a bit of a misprint. They decided to have the cosmograph floating underneath. Dial arrangement's nice. The Zenith Daytona, 1987. Comes with a box. That's great to know. You don't see floating cosmographs actually. Pretty special. And just to add emphasis, cosmograph should be under this, but it's a little bit more proud. No idea why this was done, but hey, Zenith Daytonas are cool. I like them. Hard to see the time, for sure. The watch is so unlegible, but I mean, you know what it is. Talking on what is the estimate? Between 30 and 50. That's the estimate. Unreal. Just blows me away. Next. Okay, I have handled one of these before. 1976 Sigma 6263. Between 40 and 80,000. That's pretty acceptable, I think, as a price. I think the one I handled was the price offered. The condition of the one I handled was mint. I mean, this has some rust on the hands. You can see the case is not bad, but I think the price for the one that I was looking at was about 120, and that was in December. The condition was better than this. Sigma dial, which is unique. I do like the reverse panda though. It's pretty nice. Shaitan's saying, only does Rolex make us pay extra for its mistakes. Palestine saying, I'd like a video about misprints and mistakes on watches. Fantastic. Well, I mean, of all the brands, I think Rolex is the easiest to discover and categorize. I'd love to do that. Great idea. 1976, old as dirt. I like the crown and the pushes. One thing that makes these watches so charming is the watch size is 37. It definitely wears like a 40. It really does wear big. But I just love the case proportions relative to the crown and pushes. Nicely said. Eric says comes with a box, not the original, of course. Yeah, I mean, they can really dupe you with these things. So this watch is probably going to go for 100 grand, I would say. Pretty hilarious. Okay, now we're dealing with something rarer, 6239. Between 100 and 200. This is actually rare. This is the rarest dial that you find with 6239s. And Paul Newman, yeah, we know. This dial is pretty unique. It's not my favorite. I can't say that I've really bonded with this reverse panda layout altogether. But yeah, this is going to, I mean, the estimate between 100 and 200 grand. I would imagine it's going to go for that price because this is pretty rare. All in all, kind of this instrument layout kind of reminds me of a, what would you call it? A protractor or a compass? No, protractor. Am I saying that right? A gadget that you use to measure, degrees and angles. I see the red highlight and think to myself, it looks like an instrument that you would use at school. Anyway, 400K, I'm calling it, Watch Doctor. You might be right. Megan's saying not a fan of it at all. It really doesn't sing to me at all. But saying that, the legibility is pretty top notch. You can tell the time pretty easily. And the subdials themselves, you can read. Not bad. Okay, moving through, 165. Oh, geez. I've got to motor through these. I'm sick and tired of looking at day dates all the time. You've got some blue. You've got another wood dial. Fantastic. Nice looking bezel and bracelet. Pyramid. This looks like an oyster quartz. Hold on. It is. Wow. And this should be pretty rare. Oyster quartz with a pyramid bracelet, 1987. Check out that movement. Not bad. Not bad at all. But again, it's just, the same old stuff. This is pretty rare. I'll leave it on for a second. Legibility. I like it. You can see the time. It's good. Anyway, Crofton Taylor has one of those gerbil Daytonas, and it went quick. Gevril, you mean? Yeah, they seem to be pretty gerbil. Was that intentional or was that autocorrect? That's pretty funny. Yeah, nice bracelet. I like it. Moving on. Another one of these. What's this? A Stellar dial, vermilion. Nice, not bad. Between 20 and 40,000. You see what I mean? The dealers are really trying to push out these, and again, it's rare, it's attractive, come on, stop it. Oof. I like this watch. I really like this watch. The infamous 666. Let's see, it was intentional. Great, thanks, Jimmy. Yeah, talking about the gerbil Tribecas. They're fun. I mean, what the hell? Uses an ETA movement, if I'm not wrong. Most blasé tonight. Excellent. Eric, I have to. I mean, geez, I've been doing this for like 3 hours at this point. I have to just, be very flippant and run through these. This is called a Great White. You're right, Shaitan. I'm pretty sure this is the Great White. And the hands look like they've been serviced, sadly. 1983 with a solid bracelet. Is that correct? I don't know so much. Between 12 and 20,000 is the expected. Guarantee with box. So this is a great sea dweller. Really is. I mean, this reference is one of my favorites. Next to and I do love the patina on this dial. This is a good example, Megan. I don't mind them at all. Not a hater. Oh, talking about the gerbil. That 666, like the devil calling you to buy the watch. I mean, really, if I was going for a Rolex diving piece, this would be me. I would get a 5-digit sea dweller or the ceramic 40 mil if I could. Looks great. Okay, so we're going to move on through. We've seen enough of these. How's that? We have about 30 pieces to go. Okay, next up, we have the 1680, a rare and attractive, come on. So it's got a tropicalized dial, which is something. I love the fact that the dial and the bezel correspond. Notice that the bezel and the dial are the same brown in finish. Red highlights, the condition's pretty good. The hands, on the other hand, look like they've been replaced. Maybe, don't know. Hard to tell. Case has been polished, not well at all, actually. Really bad. We have a look at this side. You see it's actually been highly polished in places here. Look at that highlight spot in the corner. The chamfering's virtually gone. I do love the brown, though. It's nice. Estimate between 15 and 25,000 for this. Guarantee and box. Great. Who's replacing the hands? Rolex. Rolex. They love to devalue their watches. If they can, they will. Not bad. 1680s, we've seen a few of these already. Another sea dweller. This looks to be exactly the same as the first one we saw. 1665, 1967. Double red patent pending. Okay, so the one we saw was afterwards. This is a model that just started using its helium valve, having a patent pending symbol on it. I do love the distortion of the dome crystal on the watch. Looks cool. And you can tell how it plays with the batons around. Look how the plots stretch around there. It's pretty cool. Condition-wise, not bad. 1967. Is this bracelet period correct? I don't know. Feet first. That's important, Eric Bell, for sure. The bracelet, I feel like the bracelet should be riveted, but maybe I'm wrong. Estimate between 70 and 100 that this will go for. Come on. Not bad. Nice looking piece. I do like the pointed crown guards and just the way it sits and the placement and everything else. Maxi dial on a vintage. Yeah. I mean, really, the description as it is. Moving on. 173. Oh, geez. 6536. So this is a pre-6538. Basically just with a smaller crown. This is even more collectible than the big crown, I would imagine, because it's pretty special. Again, the hands have been replaced. Why? 1956. Between 50 and 80,000 this will go for. And overall, condition is not bad. It doesn't look that badly polished. Nice lume. Oh, that's a bit worrying. When you see the lume is discolored in places. But the hands again, are they original hands? Neferon says. I really don't know. I was going to say something else. The case condition looks pretty new. I don't think it has been polished. It looks like it's been looked after pretty well. Yeah, it's an interesting piece. It is real transitional. I mean, look at those hands. I really don't feel like those hands are genuine. They look very ivory next to those hands make you cry. Why would you do that to a watch like this? It'd be nice if they specified. No, they should add a little notes section here saying, note, hands have been replaced. Anyway, our hand looks wrong. I don't know. I mean, it could even, back in the day, these were probably using pencil hands. No? I'm pretty sure they were both pencil hands. Anyway, going to carry on. 174. Another 6265 Sigma. Between 35 and 55,000. I'm pretty sure it's going to beat that. Comes with a box and guarantee. Nice. That bezel has been molested though, sadly. Paint's come off. And again, you're spending so much. Tom Austin, I haven't said hi to you in the chat. I did see you earlier. Welcome. Eric Bell Franken. 6 out of 10 new hands. It's sad. It really is sad when that happens, right? Is this only a Rolex auction? Watch Doctor. I did say in the beginning, it feels like, I mean, at least 80 of the 200 watches are Rolexes for sure. So anyway, talking about the pushes, this was one of the earlier times when they were using screw downs, if I'm not wrong. I think in and around this time period. So yeah, Sigma Daytona we've had a look at before. Moving on. This is another pre-toner. 1966, between 70 and 140,000. 6238. I mean, this is right on the cusp of transitioning across to the Paul Newman era. Interesting. I missed the rare just. Did I, radio? Sorry. I've just been flicking through as it is. We've been running for 3.5 hours almost here. Oh, beautiful. That really adds to why would you do that? Anyway, I'm sure this watch will be sought after. Not bad. Looks pretty good. I love the silver burst dial in the vintage. It is very nice. You're talking about that one. Oof. This is a cool example. 6265, highly rare. 14 karat yellow gold. Come on, get off your 14 karat, meaning that this was probably an American domestic market model, if I'm not wrong. Generally, the Europeans used 18 and America used 14. So the 1977, between 60 and 100,000. This is a great looking watch. It's pretty stunning. This is really period correct, lines up nicely. And I just enjoy the little micro details, like the way Cosmograph is above the subdial, and the condition is also pretty nice too. Still doesn't beat the John Player Special, but it's pretty close. If you want the more modern take, just all-encompassing gold, big testicle watch right there. Miami watch. Yeah, this is probably worn in Miami. 1977, you can just imagine. You have a mountain of powdery white stuff on your table. Brummy, thank you for the 10 pounds. Oh, it's a pleasure. It really is. I hope you're still enjoying this. But I still think the John Player is a winner over this one for my taste. It's great. Oof. What happened here? So, 1675, rare and attractive stainless steel, dual time wristwatch. Okay. That's an interesting way of putting it. 1971, 1675, with a completely molested bezel. It's faded pretty evenly, which is nice, but the bracelet looks intact. The watch has been seriously over polished. You notice the case and the lugs. I mean, it's just a oh, ooh, this is being polished badly. Look at that. Look at that spring bar on either side. They're either using the wrong size spring bars, or this case has just been destroyed. No, this is a shame. It's time to duel. Shocked that there aren't more Pateks, Langes. There are a few later on, actually. I need to keep motoring. This is sad. What a sad, sad case of a watch this is. Look at that spring bar pushing out. Poor. Ooh, a white dial. We had a look at the black dial Milgauss. This isn't as in demand as the black dial variant. That's an unwearable watch with that overpolishing. It really is shy-town. That's disgusting. Shame. Really is a shame. This is not bad. White dial is pretty sought after. Nice and clean. I still prefer the black dial over it, though. We looked at earlier. Oof, now we're talking. 6542. This being the Pussy Galore, if I'm not wrong. 1955, between 80 and 160. Now, they should mention in this original, with original Bakelite bezel would help, because these Bakelite bezels just fell apart. Looks great, though. This does look nice. Everything looks pretty clean. The hands are correct. Dial's clean. Look at the case. This looks to be an unpolished example, really. Or it's been polished extremely well. It's been looked after. The bracelet is clean. Nice. Only GMT Master with a loomed bezel. Sadly, yes. And all of us wish that the new ones had loomed bezels, but sadly not. Great. Really nice example here. I like it. I like it a lot. Between 80 and 160, it's going to smash that. I'm sure this is going to be between 180 and 250. It's nice, but museum piece. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You can't find the condition watches in such good condition like these nowadays. So I'm sure they'll be saved somewhere. I just love little details like it has a roulette date window. Something to point out here. Little things like that. Why doesn't Rolex just be a bit more quirky with their stuff? Nice. Really cool. Moving on. 180. Come on. Look at that description. Highly rare, attractive. I'm just going to flick through it. It's so pathetic. APH dial, 2012. It's just a simple Daytona, stainless steel, between 15 and 25. Highly rare. Has some, they say, APH dial bracelet hang tag. So what? Was it sold by a jeweler? I don't know. Nothing special about this, really. Come on. Another example. Another Zenith, 1998. 15 to 25,000. We've seen many of these already. It's just a laugh. I just find it so funny that that these watches are going for the prices they are, and I'm glad they didn't say rare here. A fine and outstanding, well preserved. Better description. Thank you. 182. Next, Universal Geneva. Nice change of pace. We've looked at about 1 trillion Rolexes up until now. C, thank you for the comment. Great show. Tried my best. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a different take on things. Very nice 6542. Would love this in my collection, but not at the prices of auction. It's a joke, right? Way too much. Is this where Daytonas go to die? Find new owners. Yeah, Universal Geneva, 1942. This is definitely a wartime piece. You can just tell, all heat blued. I mean, they just knew what they were doing back in the day. There was so much elegance. What I try to express in the Air Ministry, the Air Ministry video, what kind of Rolex is that? It ain't no Rolex, Clive. Is that there's just so much beauty in the watchmaking back in the day. You know what I mean? You can just appreciate all the little details that was done at a time when the world was in a complete, disarray. They could still make such beautiful things. One of my favorite watches of the show, which is in fact, and look at this, no rare anything here, but this compared to the freaking 5513s and all the rest, the 1675s we've seen, this is rare. Wake up, get with the program, Phillips. You guys are just copying and pasting this stuff. And Tom Austin saying a real throwback. Yeah, I mean, it is a throwback to how we used to do these shows. I mean, beautiful. Get this one. I mean, this should be for me, right? I'm not so much of a fan of this MOD style dial very much. So what is it? It's a 165.014. Great. From 1964, 38 mil diameter, creme de la creme. I mean, the case styling is just the same as mine. Beautiful insert. Reminds me just like of mine. The only real difference between this and mine is the dial and the hands. Much more MOD spec inspired, but more of a transitional to the next step. Beautiful piece, and the condition, yeah, it's been worn. The sad thing is these Omegas are so rare because they are bought and worn and were never looked after. So sadly, they're very hard to find. Look up CK2913 on Google and you'll find it's like one of the rarest divers out there. Peruvian Air Force is one of the specialist models in that line. Junior, thank you so much for the super chat. It's been such a good time. I've really enjoyed this. Moving on, I love this piece. One of the rarest watches of the show for my tastes. And then we jump to a Israeli crest, Universal Geneva, and the signature of Saddam Hussein. Yikes. Okay, that's a little bit of a page turner. Yeah, well, if you want that on your watch, go for it. Go for it. I don't think many people would. Oh no, I don't think many people would appreciate that. What this watch will sell for between 5 and 10 grand. It's rare, sure is rare, but yikes, that's a bit scary. You know, speechless. Yeah, it kind of drops the ball right there. Young Eagle Squadron's watch. Give it to George Bush. Oh, Michael, talk about an anniversary gift. Imagine. Okay, jumping to Universal Geneva. This is great. Really nice looking piece. 1965, very period correct. Looks sublime. Between 15 and 30K. Stunning. Really is period correct all the way through. You see it has the same kind of chronograph hallmarks we know. The orange highlight, which is great, kind of in line with the Ultraman Speedmaster we saw earlier. The Pol Pot Certina. Well, I don't know what's up next. I'm just running the seat of my pants here. Great looking piece though, really nicely intact. Between 15 and 30 grand. Impressive. It's quite a nice asking. Same bezel as the Speedy. Nicely pointed out, Jimmy. Do really enjoy it. I like it. Next, oh, nice. This looks, it's a yachting. First thing, you look at this dial. Whenever you see red, white, and blue on a sub-dial, you know it's a yachting model. That is special. I like this. So, 765. I'm sure Clive, if he's in the chat, he'll enjoy this. This is something that you should be collecting. Between 8 and 12,000. I mean, really? Why would you price it so low? Stunning. This is fantastic. When do you ever see a regatta chronograph of a watch that was issued to pilots, military pilots? It's fantastic. You know, I just don't understand. Phillips, you can clearly see that the Phillips auction house is in for something. They're looking for something different. They're not looking for something different. Compared to Watches of Knightsbridge, on the other hand, they really do like to celebrate the more unique and special and not as well-known stuff. This is not well-known, but the real watch enthusiasts, the collectors, fantastic. Get the strap off and it's stunning. Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think all the descriptions were written by Tristan. Yeah, I feel like it too. Extremely, but this is pretty rare. I like this. Really nice. You know, someone's going to blow their load on a bloody 6-digit reference Rolex and they can get something so much better. Oof. Now we're talking. This is probably one of the best of the show in the Omega category, CK2. This is a Gen 5 model. And, 1962, Peruvian Air Force. Look at that. The condition looks fantastic. Look at it. It's great because it's not Rolex. And that's the sad thing. They're asking between 15 and 25 for this watch. I mean, wake up. This can go for so much more. FAP, I think that's pretty funny. If you're in the modern lingo, that's the signal for Peruvian Air Force, but also something a bit more, Generation Z, whatever you're in. Love it. I think the condition's great. Looks nice and clean. And as far as Speedmasters go, does it get any better than an applied logo with gorgeous alpha-styled hands? The original cases, the original bracelet. Come on. Yeah, Jimmy, that's how it normally indicates Peruvian Air Force's FAP was always the call sign, which is pretty funny. I love it. I love it. This is one of my favorite watches of the show again. And, Rolexes have just been overblown. Hey, look, a Lange Söhne, well done. And what do they say? A very attractive. This is actually rare because it's from 2005 and you don't see many of these. Saxomatic. So this being a fully automatic, large date Lange. I featured this on the cover show. Wow, a Lange. Nice change of pace, right? But look at this movement. Come on. Between 6 and 12,000 they're asking for with a zero reset. Oh, wow. A zero reset function. So that means you pull out the crown and you can actually reset it to zero and you can synchronize with time. Oh, it's fantastic. What a great watch. Come on. It just makes me sad, actually, that the watch enthusiasts can look at this and see how blatantly biased it is to certain things and others. I just don't understand it. What a gorgeous piece. Stunning. Really is beautiful. It's a Lange. I mean, and it's a Saxomat. It's one of the originals. And then we have a Lange 1, a rare and attractive pink gold, between 12 and 24 grand for this. Nice contrast between the gray and like the navy blue black of the dial. Very typical from 2004. 42 mil diameter. Quite surprised. I would expect it to be smaller than that. Usually, normally they're 39. Interesting. Unique. I mean, I kind of like the celestial approach of how they've done the subdials here. As a Lange enthusiast, let me tell you, Langes before 2000 are extremely hard to find. And in 20 years, they'll be on the cover of catalogs. Pilot style, thank you for that input. And it's a joke. But now they say a rare. They should say a very rare, extremely rare, something. But sadly, that's not where the interest lies, which is pretty sad. A 5040p. I know a few people actually own these who've been on the show before, and not bad. Nice looking piece. The reference that came after this, I think, is a bit neater. This one looks a bit old-fashioned. 2007, 35 mil case. This being a full perpetual calendar with a tonneau shape platinum. You know, it's great. It has everything you want. Doesn't have the Breguet numerals, though. I really wanted to watch the show live, but had to finish some work today. Yeah, don't worry about it, Carl. I mean, you can always catch up. I'm pretty much just being so flippant and throwing away half the watches that we're looking at. But, you know, that's the way it is. Reference 5396. Okay, 2017. You can still buy these watches now for sure. But the blue dial, one of my favorite references in the line. This is stunning. I mean, not only the blue and the rose gold, but the way the complication has been done is great. I'd love to see that the separate windows also matching the color of the dial, but hey, this is modern. I mean, this is just a modern standard piece. 191, 192, we're getting there. Patek Philippe, a very rare and incredible, between 200 and 300,000 for this. No, not bad. 37 mil, that's quite impressive. From 1957 with an original, I'd imagine a Gay Frere bracelet. Not bad overall. Having a look at the dial, very period correct, you could say. Rolex. Yeah, it's great. Carl, and again, I should have said, hey, thanks for joining us, even though you couldn't catch up with the show. It's nice to have you here. And it's always a pleasure. So many enthusiasts who really know things about watches. Listening to this could make some great comments about these pieces and just how they stand in their stature. Between 200 and 300,000 for this. Now, again, I ask you, go back to that IWC enamel dial that we saw earlier that went for 50. Compare it to this. I just don't get it. I don't. Anyway, that's just me. There we go. 2012, 5131. We've seen a few of these featured before on the show. It looks great. Mr. C, thank you for the dollar. It's always appreciated. Gorgeous. This is a stunning piece. And we've featured this exact watch not a few weeks back. And it does look great. I mean, everything from the text down to the cloisonne. I hope I say it right. It's a cloisonne enamel dial, meaning that all the continents have gold inlay around them. And it's just gorgeous. Really nice use of colors. I really enjoy Pateks with crown guards, by the way. I think there's something quite deco about how it's been addressed. I kind of wish more of these models had crown guards nowadays. 194, we're still going. We've seen a few of these already, extremely rare and blah, blah, blah. 1948, between 100 and 200 for this model. It's amazing how many, when we think extremely rare, we've seen about 4 of these already featured on the show. So it's pretty funny. As we come close to the end, what watch would you pick if you could own one? Oh, fantastic pilot style. I wish I had like the full lot list open. I think what we can do, let's just run through a few more of these and I will cherry pick one. We should all do it at the end of the show for the last 5 minutes. Reference 570, rare and large, between 20 and 30 grand. Not bad. Nice. I mean, amazing. For 1942, it's pretty impressive. But again, I mean, this watch is going to go much higher than that and sell. 196, Lange Söhne, platinum. Now we're talking. Proper day-night indication, power reserve, a full GMT complication, or is it a world time? I think it's a world time. Between 20 and 40,000. I mean, this is the real stuff. From 2005, this is going to be collectible, as most of us already know. Moving through, flyback. Love our data graph. I've handled the exact model of this, just the platinum version. It was also from around 2004-ish, and it really is a beautiful piece. They are amazing. The size, 39 millimeters, is just so charming. I can tell you, wearing 39 mils on the wrist is incredible. The one reservation I have is the Roman integration with the batons. I don't think it's as nice as just straight batons or numerals on the dial. Looks great though. Between 20 and 40, I'm pretty sure it's going to hit that price or more. 198, Pilot's chronograph. Sorry, Pilot's, what am I saying? Not a world time, GMT. We've seen a few of these before. This is actually a Calatrava, 2019. I mean, between 20 and 30,000, they're asking for this watch. This watch you can still buy now. It's not rare. It's not rare. Come on, man, wake up. I laugh. Anyway, moving on, another Patek. Jeez. Okay, this is pretty special. This is definitely something quite unique. 35 mil diameter from 1944. Beautiful movement, as you would expect. Perpetual calendar. We've seen so many of these. We can just throw these around and keep going as it always is. 200, lot 200. This looks exactly like a Vacheron. Having a look at the dial. Bean-shaped lugs, they call it. Between 40 and 80,000. And again, it's all down to the name. If it was Vacheron on the dial, it wouldn't have a tenth of the price assigned to it, which I think is sad. I mean, we've seen that incredible enamel. That's probably one of my favorites of the show because it's just unbelievable. Not bad. Another 1943, 34 millimeter diameter, between 40 and 80,000 it'll be going for. Not bad. Well, another Calatrava, reference 570, early 1949. Look at that movement. Can you believe the movement is from that time? It's incredible. 36 mil, pretty large, contemporary for its time. Between 30 and 60, I'm pretty sure it's going to get that number. I love this. The 3710, one of my favorite Nautiluses or Nautili in the line. I think the combination of the Romans with the sports case is unique, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the actual sell price is going to be much higher. Nick Folks loves this watch as well. I think it's pretty special. Okay, moving on. 203, very old. This looks to be almost a, what was the model given to South America? Gondolo. This looks like it was, maybe this was produced to a tonneau. I don't know. Nice looking piece though from 1912. Jeez, it is a gondolo. Oh, I guessed it right. How is that? So this was actually sent out to Peru, I think. And there's this whole commemorative event where they made these specifically for this special brand back in the day, Patek in the early days with their tonneau-shaped case. I can't believe I guessed that. So far into the show. An extremely rare Audemars Piguet. That's interesting. From 1956. How's that? Juxtapose the old world time next to the modern one. Yeah, we're talking about the Patek, the pocket watch versus the standard model. Stunning. Pretty amazing, right, Jimmy? 1912 and Gondolo. I think it was to Peru they were sent out, and they were loved, that part of the world. 1956. I mean, that's a stylish pocket watch. Hey, really, really is stylish. I like this. Amazing. I mean, from Patek. I mean, from AP at that time. Moving next, 205. Another AP. This being a platinum minute repeater, Breguet numerals, between 15 and 25 grand. Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously. You see what you're getting here. And it's the idea of how skewed the auctioning is, clearly. You're dealing with a platinum watch, full Breguet numerals, minute repeater. It's like one of the best complications you can get. And between 15 and 25 is the estimated price. It's laughable, actually. For enthusiasts, they're then definitely not tailoring their watches for enthusiasts. So now we're dealing with one of the first generations of the Offshore. Actually spoke about it at the beginning of the show. Looks great. Got a caramel dial. Somehow I don't think this is probably aged that color over time, which tropical, interesting. So it's aged this color over time. Pretty cool. They did some cool things back in the day. I do like this layout. It's a lot less ostentatious, if you know what I mean. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. We've seen a lot of these before. I need to remind myself that 213 will crash the site, so I've got to keep rolling. We've got diamond inserts here. This is a 1978. They expected to go between 50 and 100,000 for this. I mean, come on, really? After we've just looked at 2 watches ago, we've just looked at a minute repeater. And this is just this is white gold. Okay, that's something. So it's a white gold royal oak. Okay, it's unique, but geez, I mean, really, I think that 35 mil miniature Peter is incredible. Okay, 208. I mean, really, 1977. Oof, this is an original. This could be one of the first. Between 60 and 100,000, stainless steel. Okay, 3,700. We've seen so many of these before. Between 60 and 120,000. I'm not even going to stay on it for a while. Another example, 5402. This is a very early jumbo, tropical dial. Yeah, wonderful. I mean, price between 40 and 80,000. I just don't know, man. Why are they just so skewed? Anyway, I'm going to keep moving. 210. Oof, now we're talking. This looks great. This is the kind of Patek I would jump on. 2006, between 20 and 30 grand for this. Limited edition to commemorate Patek's reopening of their boutique in Geneva in 2006. I love this. This takes 40s inspiration right the way through. I'd really enjoy the dial. Syringe hands, you know, two-tone effect on the dial. Looks great. Really does. JLC sector, yeah, for sure, pilot style. This is really something nice. And people saying I could wear that. And Clive saying looks like a VC quite a little. Does, really does. Like it a lot. 211. As you see, not done. Really old. 1942, 38 mil, between 10 and 15 grand. They expected to go for stainless steel. Nuts. It's pulsation dial. I love the pulsations. Also, another sector dial model. Notice that sector dials are really popular in the 40s. That was the time. Chip gauge. I'm now a cornholio. Thanks again. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the super chat. It really is great. I hope you've been enjoying this. I'm sorry that I've had to run through Breguet. And now we're talking. This is a good example right here. 1939, between 30 and 50,000. This watch should go for a lot more. Look at that dial. This is a pre-war, or definitely, you know, model of that time. Look at the movement. It has all the original paperwork. Oh, come on. Between 30 and 50, wake up. This could go for way more than that. This could go for 50 plus. You know, look at it. Stunning. And all the original paperwork that's been hand signaled and everything else. This is one of the only Breguets I think we featured on the show, which is so sad. 213. Oof, I almost botched it there. The last watch of the show. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? 214. An exceedingly rare, well-preserved platinum chronograph, blue hard enamel, 1946. Not bad. Between 800 and 1.6, really? I would imagine this is probably one of the only models around of this reference. Why would they cut off the image like that? Look at the movement. Gorgeous. Really is stunning. Nice looking lugs. Kind of works pretty well with the case and the way it's done. Call it a scarab. Looks like a scarab case. The best I could do is 400. Okay, so now it's really running back. So let's end the show off. I don't know if any of you have had the watches open up on your screens on a separate page, looking at all the listings. But we've just run through over 200 pieces, which I think is pretty impressive. It's like 10 to 2 now in the UK, and we've really been rolling. So now it's really coming to terms with which one sings to me the most. There was a question asked of me, and maybe some of you could mention in the chat what you think really nailed the mark the best. Oof, I really enjoyed this 50 Fathoms. The Zenith was gorgeous. Two of my favorites in this list for sure. What else? Nice Zenith. I think the 1016 is a very clean example. That's something special. I'm just rolling through these last few for all of us to have a look at again. Just a synopsis. Yeah, this sub is not bad. This is a very good example of a 1680, nice and clean. What else? I also really enjoyed the True Second. Let's see. So everyone in the chat, tag me in the chat and tell me what watch you would pick from this list. I think it's important because we really have had a field day looking at pieces. So Megan's saying choose the 6542. Yeah, really nice. I mean, that's the GMT Pussy Galore. Really good condition. And the Bakelite bezel is stunning. Just scrolling through a little bit more to see if I can remember. See what happens here. Lot not available. You click on that, just screws up the web page. This is one of my favorites. This IWC, I think it's incredible. Enamel dial from the 50s, beautiful. Scrolling through some more. This World Time, gorgeous. This deserves the price it should go for. Stunning. A few more examples. Anyone else? Let's see what's going on in the chat. I see a few more comments here. Eric Bell, you'd pick up the 666. It'd be fantastic. Mason saying it's Saturday. We don't care if it's 10 to 2. Can't believe it. I'd pick the rarest one, Michael says. The 6062. So that's the pre-Daytona. Green Dial AP. Nice, bud. That's very, I mean, for what you like, for your taste, for sure. I'll pick the rare one. I get it now. I've been running through for so much. That's quite on the nose. I like it. They would pick the rare one. And you get it because every single one is rare. It's pathetic. Oh, what a joke. So keeping going. I mean, some are really nice and others are just so overblown. The JPS, oof, that's one of the watches that I would be, the 6241. The condition of that piece is spectacular. The brown Speedmaster for Kukuru, no argument there. This JPS is one of the, I mean, that's shortlisted. That's top 3 for me. That's something special. No Nautiluses, please get off my screen. Tornek Ravel, oh, it's another one. The Speedmaster, I mean, this is just what was chosen. I think that is gorgeous, absolutely stunning. The 6062 is the annual calendar. Oh, sorry, Shaitan, talking about that fancy Rolex with the stars and everything on it. The most disappointing, I think, one of the most, is this GMT Master that is supposedly rare and well preserved. What are you smoking? It's been destroyed. The Saru is another example that I like, but it's not exactly rare. Megan saying the 5513 with Explorer dial is great. Yeah, Thomas, is that what Thomas mentioned that he would like? Yeah, just as long as you tag me in the chat, I'll be able to see the comment easiest. Anything else that's really nice? These little APs, not APs, these little Pateks are quite cool. What else? All these date justs. This Explorer dial, as Megan mentioned, this Explorer dial is something cool. The condition is pretty fantastic. And let's keep going. This Daytona is not bad. All in all, Milgauss is nice. And then we kind of taper off a little bit. We get to all of these other pieces. The Speedmaster is okay. Ultraman, Breitling is not bad. I guess for collectability, you would want this, but I just really don't appreciate the dial at all. Carl saying quirky, lot 144, JLC, Pierre Cardin Diver, but so cool. Let's have a look. 144, it's a little bit further up. I missed it. Let's go back up quick. We're close enough. 147. This thing, the cuff watch from the 70s. Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely a watch of its time, you could say. Definitely quirky and cool. Oof, the 666 is also gorgeous. As Eric Bell says, really is nice. And Thomas, thank you for the super chat, brother. Thank you as always. I'm just having to go through a few more of these. What else stands out? Nothing much in the sports Rolex. Megan's right in saying that this GMT, Pussy Galore, it's one of the best. The Bakelite bezel is fantastic. I would go for an Omega just because it's one of the rarest in this list. You know, honestly, I think of all the watches that I've seen on the show, I know what one I would be going for. And this is not just for bragging rights and for everything else. I think just in general, you know, let's get back up to it. We can find it. I think most of us probably know what I'm going to say. Not for bragging rights, not for hype factor, not for collectability. I think this JPS, let's make it full screen if I can. Oops, back. Wait a second. Let's try and fix this. Last time, oh, geez, now I've lost it. Where did it go? Come back, sweetheart. I've lost the lot. Let's see if I scroll back up. It's so irritating. I tell you, you'd think Phillips's page is a little bit more streamlined. If you guys do suffer from seizures, from bright flashes and everything else, I do apologize. I've just lost the JPS. I'm very, very upset with myself. It's further up. Oh my gosh. 78, Jumbo says, thank you. I hope this is the one. Come on. Thank you guys and girls. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show and joining in and everything else. Let me pull this up again. This is the trick. You don't zoom in with a magic mouse. You zoom in with the screen. There we go. That would be the winner of the show for me because I think the condition is phenomenal. Not just the bragging right, but I love the contrast. I love the legibility. The fact that it's all gold. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I bit my tongue off, Forbin says. Yeah. But this for me is the winner of the show by far. Must be the 1655, Les says. No, I really think this is something special. Compared to all the others, it's rare, it is collectible, and the condition is phenomenal, really, for what it is. Yeah, so it's been one hell of a show. We've literally almost hit the 4-hour mark again. I am the marathon man of these shows. Yeah, and Rookie here says, I actually like it. I hate gold, but I see what you like here. Yeah, it's not just the gold. It's the cleanliness of it all, just for what it represents. It is so simple and basic. if it had Omega on the dial or JLC or whatever else, I'd pick it. I think as a combination of gold and black together, you can see all the parts. You can, let me try and zoom in. You can read the dial so easily at a glance, tell the time, but as well as use the chronograph complication. Yeah, there's a reason why the JPSs are so sought after. And this, I didn't actually, is this a European or is this, is 14? So this is actually an American market, 1969, 14 karat John Player Special. What a show. Is it safe? Yeah, I don't know. It's great. Really cool. And I'm sure if you know anything about Formula One and all that past, they basically color-coded to the John Player Special McLarens back in the day. Lot long enough. Must go to lot 1 and review again, Zane. You guys are awesome. I have to thank you all for joining. I need to close this off. I'm actually pretty exhausted. Believe it or not, this show does take it out of me. Generally, my come Sunday and Monday, I am hammered. It feels like I have a full-on hangover for a day at least. But yeah, I think it's been quite a good show. We've been able to discuss the full spectrum, which I just cannot believe. I really didn't think it would be possible to discuss 200 watches. It's been almost 4 hours, but hey, it's what it is. So for all of you joining, there's still 194 of you watching. I cannot thank you enough. This live show is something very different. Come next week, send in your wrist shots. My email is in the description. And we're going to share everyone else's wrist shots and keep the ball rolling. And next week, the core video will be coming out on Wednesday, all about the Omega Speedmaster. I did something quite ambitious, and I basically sat with over 20 different Speedmasters and talked about their designs. So yeah, it's all modern. They're all modern variants, but they all have their own unique quirks. And hold on a second. You know what I'm going to do? Can I share the screen again quickly? No, too much work. I wanted to show the Omega at the end anyway. I'm 15 beers in. Looky here. Congratulations. That's impressive. So again, for all of you who've been a part of the show, who have paid attention to what's been going on, I hope this has been able to help you. If you're interested in getting any of these pieces coming up, go for it. I mean, Megan is one of us here who could probably jump on a nice selection of pieces from that lineup. I would suggest, Megan, picking up that Ultraman if I were you, because as most of us know, the Ultraman, there's only like 300 of them in the world. About 600 actually. They're very rare in the Speedmaster game. And yeah, as it is, all of you have been great. Just before we hit the 4 o'clock mark, or the 4 hour mark, I like to call it quits. But as always, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your weekend. And Bud, thank you. Patreon this week, oh, thank you. I need to do something like have a video discussing Patreon and how it works. But yeah, you guys really, who've all contributed, been a part of the show, you make these shows all the more fun, really. I get to present, I get to talk to you all. I hope the information is worthwhile and all the rest. So have a terrific Sunday. Have a fantastic start to next week. And I need to think up some more ideas for video because I've been drawing a blank. I've really just been enjoying listening and watching guitars. I've been studying up on guitars again. Anyway, lots of love, everyone. Thank you all for being a part of the show, as always. And I will see you in the next one. See you on Saturday, and we can chat about more wrist shots that you all send in. Cheers for now.